All right, good evening, everybody. I have 6:01 p.m. for the City Council meeting of February 17th, 2026. I see that all council members are present, at least those that are currently holding office. Let's go ahead and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. We have some announcements and then some committee reports. So we'll start with announcements, some of which you have seen recently. Next slide, please. All right, first we have a survey still available for our Downtown Streetscapes project. You can scan that QR code or find it on the city website under projects. I believe that survey ends at the end of the month. We are also still accepting applications for our community development block grant funding. That's funding for long-term rehab maintenance and economic development projects. Proposals must benefit low to moderate income citizens. These are the types of projects that typically the Housing Authority or the Family Center applies for. Check that out at anacorteswa.gov/1655 if that interests you. We are still seeking applicants for service on city boards or commissions. If you go to anacorteswa.gov/160, you can find out about the many boards and commissions that we have here at the city. You can apply for any of them. Some of them we are currently seeking we currently have vacancies and are seeking applicants for, but others we will have vacancies later. So feel free to sign up, fill out the talent bank application for any or all of them. I would like to note that the Planning Commission will now be meeting on the second Tuesday of each month rather than Wednesdays. And that meeting will still be at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers. Their next meeting will be March 10th. So that's a change from Wednesdays to the second Tuesday of each month. APD is still offering the Citizen Police Academy, and they still have openings for this academy. There are 11 sessions. They are typically weekday evenings starting in early March. They offer classes for all aspects of our police officers' patrol officer work, but they also include a tour of the Skagit 911 Dispatch Center and a tour of the Skagit Community Justice Center, which is also known as the jail. If you're interested in that, you can sign up at anacorteswa.gov/310. And the sooner the better on that. Finally, a couple of project updates. Firstly, 12th and Commercial, we received notice today that we are expecting the new light pole delivery, the traffic light pole delivery, April 3rd. So that might not be the date we actually hit, but sometime in April is probably when those will get delivered and then installed shortly thereafter. We are looking to construct a crossing across Q Avenue at approximately Safeway. That bidding closed on January 28th, so Council should expect a contract award in the near future. We have now achieved substantial completion of the fiber build-out of the section of our fiber network that is funded by our federal EDA grant. So there's a punch list left. There's still some work to be done, but substantial completion has been achieved. And so we're getting close to close out on that grant. And then bids closed February 19th on our Fire Station 1 kitchen office remodel, so you should expect to see a contract in the near future on that. anacorteswa.gov/projects is where you can go to find out more information about these projects and others. And there's one small maintenance project that I want to tell you about, show you some pictures of. It's on the next slide. And that's 4th and R Avenue. If you have gotten late to the farmer's market and had to park a little bit further down the street, you might recall how lumpy the street, especially the parking strip, was there. Using our own forces, crews cut that out, dug it out, and have put down some crushed rock. That will be paved when the weather is a little bit better, but it's a substantial improvement of that parking strip. It also definitely helps out the port for their heavy haul route. Anything that goes down that street there won't have quite as bumpy of a time. So we're very appreciative of our public works crews for getting that done. Okay, council, we have a couple of committee reports on the agenda. Let's start with economic development.
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Young.
The Economic Development Committee met on February 10th. It was myself, Luke Courier, Christine Cleland McGrath, as well as Director Coleman and Stephanie Snyder. One of the things, this was our first meeting with the rotation of council members. So it was, first of all, part of it was the discussion about where we've been and then where we think we needed to go. So part of that review process was of projects, reports, thoughts for going forward. It was a vigorous discussion. We have, it's 3 strong-willed people with great ideas committed to this city to push forward the best possible thing that we can. Uniquely where we are now is because of the economic challenge that we have. The importance of the roles that we're playing is ever more important into that process. So sometimes it will be a sage discussion, but at the end of the day, all of us are committed to you and trying to figure out how do we get to where we need to be. And so one of the things that we looked at was the tools that we used in the past and trying to determine if they were applicable this time. There is some reason to believe they may or may not. But that was then, and this is now, looking from this prism as to where we need to go and how we need to get there. And it's uniquely such that I think, you know, we're fortunate to have them on our team at Economic Development. One of the other things that I thought would be sort of a titillating enticement for you to follow on the economic development, it was that in our discussion it came out that we would have, each of us, meaning the 3 council members, would have 3 suggestions or ideas for how the city could benefit, whether that's economic, whether that's a driver, whether that's some things that we need to do in order to move us forward. And so if you ever want to make me happy, invite me to a brainstorming session. I love it. So in this case, we have 3 ideas, and we're going to be bringing them forward. Luke, you want to add anything to that?
Well, now that you put me on the spot, I'll say, no, I think that there's a lot of energy in this committee. I'm excited to be on it, excited to serve in any way I can, and yeah, sharing ideas is going to lead to great suggestions, I would hope.
Cleland McGrath.
Just that, you know, I think there's a real importance of working with our partners, whether it's countywide, Skagit Tourism, our Anacortes, Downtown Alliance, Arts. We want to really help with quality of life and making sure that we're as appealing as possible. So I think that it's bridging those different entities, the port, EDASC, things like that, that we need to do the work ourselves since we are on a budget crunch. Consultants are great, but really just getting down to the nitty-gritty and having direct communication, I think, is really important.
Does that conclude the committee's report?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Housing, affordability, community services, and planning.
Mayor Walters.
Ms. Moulton.
Thank you. The HACS committee met the second Tuesday at 10 o'clock, which was the 10th, and the committee members are Luke Courier, myself, and Anthony Young, and planning Director John Coleman was there, as well as Stephanie Snyder. And we had quite a few people, as we usually do, from service providers around the county. People from Community Action, the Housing Authority, the Family Center, and other places, and interested community members and stakeholders, which is always really rewarding to see people show up and communicate. It's just great. So we spent a lot of the meeting just sort of introducing ourselves to each other and getting some acronyms straight, like CDBG and NOFA. Like CDBG is the Community Development Block Grant that we apply for and receive about $100,000 to $110,000 a year. And that's what Mayor Walters mentioned, those applications are open right now. And the NOFA is a notice of funding availability from the county for funding. So things like that, like it was great just to feel that the fresh energy of new community members and yeah, just kind of an introduction. We talked a little bit about the point in time count that Skagit County completed with help from the Family Center. And the Family Center did some really cool things this year, like they had community breakfasts. So they made themselves a destination for people to come and in a comfortable situation, be able to talk and get a good meal and just make it easier for people and more inviting. And we don't have, the point in time count is never going to capture everyone, certainly, but organizations are doing everything that they can to do it as best as they can. So feeling good about that. We don't have the final information about it yet. Those details are yet to be released. We did find out that our contract with the Salvation Army for the cold weather shelter, it was $10,000 for the 2-year period for 2026 and 2027, and they only have $700 left, despite how very, very good they are with their money and conserving it and making sure they're very careful in distribution to help the most people in the most need. So that is definitely a dearth of money that would be nice if we could find a way to supplement. And that is pretty much it, unless I forgot something.
I think just the one thing to add is that the reason that those cold water funds are down is because other agencies had their funding cut, and so they've had more people have come to them, I think, than would normally have done that. Just to your point, if they manage it really well.
Great point. Thanks for adding that.
All right, thank you. Public Works Committee?
Mayor Walters.
Mr. McDougall.
Public Works Committee met just prior to this meeting. Council members Cleland McGrath, Mr. Fantini, and myself were there along with the leadership team of the Public Works Department. We covered basically 2 main topics. The first one being the waste management contract renewal, and the team is kind of well underway in contract negotiations, and they're going to come back to us in a few weeks, basically with an update. We asked perhaps that working with the consultant and waste management for a presentation, probably just over Zoom, but to give us kind of the high level of the new contract, what the negotiation looked like. And of course, we also asked council members and community could always use a reminder of what kinds of materials go into what kinds of boxes, because that's just always something for us. The second item we covered was basically the list of public safety calls that, and this is primarily like roads, so public safety calls that the department fields. There's the C-click fix option for things like potholes and stuff, but then there's also questions about speed limits in certain places, that kind of thing. And so the updated list includes things like adding or increasing the hours for the school zone lights around Whitney Elementary, because there's a number of after-school programs there. So the elementary school lights were the flashing stopped at 3:30. Now they've increased the hours from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., that kind of thing. Let's see. Another one was there was a request that came in for speed bumps on 32nd between Commercial and H. It's a known, sort of speeding is a known area or known problem there. I think all council members present were surprised to hear that the speed zone is 25 there and not something higher. So it actually is 25. So that is something that they're looking into as well. Anything else you all would like to add?
Thank you. Personnel Committee.
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Fantini.
Personnel Committee met 10 a.m. today. It was HR Director Kendall Moyle, myself, Councilmember Moulton, and Councilmember Courier. We basically covered recruiting update. In December, we had 4 new hires, including a police officer and then 3 student rec assistants. In January, we had 2 new hires. Congratulations, Mayor Walters and Councilmember Courier. December, we had 13 total exits. We're familiar with what 11 of those were, but 2 of them, one was for seasonal park maintenance, and then, of course, we have a new mayor now, so the other mayor no longer works here. January, we had 2 exits, administrative services director and volunteer firefighter. Currently, we have 5 active job openings, one for a firefighter, EMT, paramedic, entry-level or lateral, police officer, entry-level or lateral, public defense attorney, contract position, water distribution, maintenance technician, and park seasonal. There will also be a job posting going up next week for a library page, and then a job posting going up at some point in Public Works with our new Public Works Director being official now. There's some transition there, and we'll see a job posting coming from that as well. We also got a 2025 turnover report, which was much appreciated, that went over our turnover percentages for the past few years, as well as turnover by position. Interestingly enough, the highest reasons for separation was reduction in force, followed by better job opportunity, followed by retirement, personal reasons. We also went over HR to FTE ratios. So Director Moyle had reached out to many cities to kind of see how many HR staff they have to serve the amount of employees that we have at the city level. And Anacortes ranked 3rd worst in our coverage, so that might be something that we look at going forward. We also covered police and fire promotional testing. So what this is, and this was very educational to me, when people are looking to be promoted in police and fire, it's a civil service process, which is different than getting a promotion in other areas. It's a very standardized test. It's very ethical, very fair, very structured. But these come up every 2 years, and what it is it's a situation where those who want to be promoted in the future are given the opportunity to be tested and then ranked. And then should a position open up where someone could be promoted, they look at those rankings and the people that are on that list, and then there's a determination of who gets promoted based off those rankings. So that's happening this year, starting in March and going through to April 22nd. So it doesn't mean anybody will be promoted, but should a promotion arise, everybody will be ranked and ready at that time. Anything, Carolyn, or Ms. Moulton, Mr. Courier, you'd like to add?
I just had one thing to add, because I think there might be some questions about that library page position. So what happened in December is a library page was laid off and another library page retired. So when that position opened up from the retiree, there was a notice to recall the person who was laid off to give that person the opportunity to come back to that job. But that person had found another job that person is happy in, so said, no, thank you. And so now there will be an application process for that library page position.
I think that's it.
Thank you. And Council, a number of weeks ago, you had authorized 3 changes in staffing. We have implemented 2 of those. The third was hiring of an HR assistant. That was premised, however, on recovery of some dollars through cancellation of our AWC retro contract. We're proceeding with that, but that money will not become available until 2027. So we are looking for other funds within the budget to be able to fund that position in 2026. Haven't found it yet. We'll let you know when we do. All right, that brings us next. Well, first of all, let me check. Are there any other council announcements? No. All right, thank you.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Young.
Just a bit of a follow-up for Valentine's Day. Part of the goal was to have what we called Love Out Loud to remind our world that love is still in the air and that for relationships and families and kids and dogs or pets, it was just coming downtown to support the businesses there. It was a great turnout. It was a wonderful thing. And most of the comments that I heard from various people was that it was just good to feel good about something called love, and that it was just a beautiful thing and a distraction. So look out for next year to be even bigger and better. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? All right, that brings us to public comment. We had no one signed up in advance. This is the time on the agenda when we accept public comment on things that are not on the agenda. Anyone in the audience who would like to provide public comment? Seeing none. Oh, I see one. Okay. Please come up to the podium. Would you please state your name for the record?
Nicholas Genovese, Ward 1.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Walters, I just want to say thanks for being a great steward of Ward 1. Congratulations on your election. I know you've, have my 3 minutes started? That's
Yes.
fine if so.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Go ahead.
I know you've been a good steward of the city. I really appreciate the public safety response to the issues on T Avenue and so on. I'm a Ward 1 resident. I have not been involved in the replacement of the city council member up to this point. I just wanted to offer some input. Again, I agree we have a great slew of candidates for Ward 1. I was a little dismayed. I noticed the questions. There wasn't a specific discussion on the property tax, and I know that's kind of been pushed to the back burner. As I understand, the city council is still lobbying our state reps and our state senator for a property tax increase in Olympia. Is that correct statement at this point?
You have to finish your statement.
Pardon me, yes,
Yeah,
thank
go
you. I understand that to be correct. If I could, the Washington legislature has already approved $9.4 billion in new taxes over the next 4 years. The Washington House, the Democrat contingency has recommended, pardon me here, 12 billion, oh, here we are, 13 billion over 4 years in the state. The Senate Democrats, 17 billion over 4 years. That's going to equate to $2,000 per an average four-member family in Washington state. Really, my point is that I'd like to get an understanding from my Ward 1 council member of what their position is on increasing property taxes. I don't know if you all know, but the recent school levies that passed by the closest margin since 1994, 52%. I can almost promise you, if you all increase our property taxes, that's the last school levy that's going to pass for quite a long time. So I just hope you're taking that into account when you're considering these increasing property taxes. We all have fiscal concerns. We all have fiscal headwinds. I look at our Ward 1 candidates, and I see a lot of folks who have seemingly have plenty of money. And when I say money, we've got Amazon executives, we've got business owners and so on. I've got no issue with that. I'm an American too. I'm for upward mobility and so on. But I think there's got to be some realism here. You know, fiscal austerity is coming one way or the other, okay? And if you're going to put it on the backs of the citizens of Anacortes, you know, we can become Edmonds, and we can have, you know, all the homes over $1 million. We can have wealthy baby boomers. I know I'm about out of time, and I'll quit. Or we can have a diverse demographic of young families. Several young families in my neighborhood are gone because they can't afford Anacortes anymore. So I'm sorry, the thoughts were a little bit scattered. I got through my 3 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public comment period. And just as an FYI, the 1% lid lift is not in our 2026 legislative priorities, although it has been in prior years. All right, our next item is the consent agenda. We have 5 items on the consent agenda. Council.
Mayor Miller,
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
I move to move forward with the consent agenda.
Second?
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. No discussion is allowed on the consent agenda, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The consent agenda is approved. Our first item of other business is a contract modification with Anchor QEA on their master services agreement related to a variety of things, but notably the A Avenue landfill. Parks Director John Lunsford will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, ladies and gentlemen. So tonight we're going to talk about the A Avenue landfill and the contract modification with Anchor QEA. Julia Fitz, the principal at Anchor QEA, will be joining us with a slide. Myself, Ms. Swetna, Mr. Lee have been working on this with Anchor QEA for some time. I just wanted to make a note in your agenda bill. You'll see that the current amount is $566,653 as a part of a $2.8 million task order. So that $2.8 million was part of the water treatment plant decommissioning. So that amount was not for A Avenue. The 566 that we're talking about tonight is, as part of the site work and stuff that Ms. Fitz will go into. But I just want to point out that the 2.8 was part of the decommissioning process at the water treatment plant in Mount Vernon, Riverbend Road. So same company, 2 very different projects. I hope that's clear. If there are any questions, I'm happy to address those now. So if there aren't, I'll continue. So the city entered into an agreed order in 2025 with the State Department of Ecology, essentially a contract to work on the A Avenue landfill under the Model Toxic Cleanup Act protocols. And so this is we've got to the point now of doing our remedial investigation, or the science to look at and collect data at the landfill to understand what is there as laid out in the agreed order. So Ms. Fitz has a PowerPoint, and she is very capable of answering any questions. If you have questions of staff, myself, Ms. Swetna, Mr. Lee are here to try to answer those as well. So I'll hand it over to Ms. Fitz unless there's any questions for me. And I think she's going to share her screen, so I'll sit down. Okay.
Great. Can you hear me, John?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to share a couple of slides. Just let me know when you can see the slide.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So as John mentioned, the city entered into an agreed order with the Washington State Department of Ecology to perform a remedial investigation, which we also call an RI. And the intent of the RI is to assess whether there are contaminants present at the landfill that pose a risk to human health or the environment and that warrant cleanup. And that is a very specific process in Washington state cleanup law. And so we have worked up until this point with Ecology to prepare an RI work plan, which outlines the specific work to assess the landfill, collect samples, do testing, and do analyses. So that work plan is currently in final Ecology review. We've met with them several times, so we expect that plan to be finalized very soon. And once the RI work plan is final, the agreed order, the legal order, stipulates that the city must begin work within 120 days. And so the work to implement the work plan includes collection of soil samples and other types of samples, which I'll talk about in a moment here. And then once we collect the information, all the data will be presented in an RI report. So I've got on the screen here just a figure that was part of the fact sheet, that was a public fact sheet once the landfill was, once the order was established last year. So this shows the location of the former municipal solid waste landfill that operated from the 1940s until the early 1970s. So this map just kind of gives you a lay of the land. The blue outline represents the outer boundary of the former municipal landfill. The black dashed line represents the location of an old road. Over here, the orange hatched represents the approximate extent of surficial debris. So it's a debris field that's present next to the base of one of the slopes of the former landfill. And then the blue dashed box here represents former concrete drying beds that were used when the landfill was open. And then the yellow lines just represent the elevation contours. So the RI work plan lays out the sampling and analyses that are required by ecology to understand whether there is contamination that poses a risk. And in our coordination with ecology, they have stipulated that additional soil samples must be collected throughout the landfill, including around the perimeter of the landfill, atop the soil cap that has been in place, within the adjacent wetland areas and the debris field, and then also adjacent to the former concrete drying beds. So the idea is to collect enough samples to get coverage, to have confidence in understanding whether contamination has come to be present in these areas. Ecology is also requiring groundwater sampling, and so we are planning to install a couple of permanent monitoring wells that will, from which we will collect groundwater samples over 4 quarters, so 2 in the wet seasons, 2 in the dry season. And then we will also be collecting seep samples, so surface water that seeps out of the base. We are also going to do some surveying, determine the extent of the debris field, and also the sensitive forest wetland areas. All of this information is compiled in an RI report, which would be delivered after the sampling is complete. And this work will take place over the next 1.5 years. So our scope extends through the end of June 2027. And then this last map I have to show you comes from the work plan. This is a lot of details, but I wanted to give you an idea of all the different sampling locations that ecology is requiring. Ecology understands that the city of Anacortes is a public entity and that we want to be able to get all the information necessary, but also that we need to be conscious of cost and public dollars. And so we've worked with them to identify the most important areas where sampling needs to happen. And so all of the purple dots that you see on the figure here represent proposed soil sampling locations. The blue circles represent the groundwater monitoring wells that will be installed and surveyed on site. And then there's a handful of other types of samples and surveying activities that will happen within this area. The wetlands are shown by these ellipses that have kind of a green hatching in them, and their buffers. And so again, this information, there isn't very much data that has been collected so far at the landfill, and so that influenced ecology's requirements for the amount of sampling that would be required as part of this phase. I'm going to stop sharing my screen unless there are any questions about anything I have presented so far.
Mayor, if I may point out,
down
just
here.
as Ms. Fitz pointed out to everyone, the implication that the amount requested tonight will span over 2 budget years, 2026 and 2027. So if Mr. Hogan can correct me, I think that there's about 400,000 budgeted this year for this project. So just so you understand what we were anticipating going into this year. Thank you, Ms. Fitz. Thank you, Mayor.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Walters.
Mayor
Thank you.
Walters.
Mr. McDougall.
Just for a sense of scope, can you remind the council and also just the audience, like how large, like how many acres are we looking at as far as the area that this work will take place? And doesn't have to be exact, but order of magnitude, like 10 acres, 20 acres, 50 acres?
You're stretching my aging cerebellum, but I think it's about 7 acres.
About
would
7.
encompass the area.
Okay, thank you. And then just for a sense of like the scope of, you know, there's a lot of hours built into this contract. So for instance, like the water, I guess the water monitoring wells, like how many hours does it take to install one of those? I noticed there's 4. Just kind of out of curiosity to get a sense for like there's a sticker price and a lot of hours associated with this.
Ms. Fitz?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so there's a number of wells. Some of the locations that we have to access will be specifically challenging for this area, just given the presence of the wetlands. So it takes a well contractor time to bring in. We have to go in first, get the utilities located to comply with the laws. Then the well contractor has to come in and drill the boring, and then they have to place the well. They have to seal it, and then we have to come back, survey the well. We have to purge the material out of it. We have to wait for it to settle, come back, collect the groundwater samples, and we have multiple staff on site for safety purposes. So I think your original question was, how long does it take to install a well? I think we've budgeted one to 2 wells per day, but for some of the areas that are harder to reach, we have 2 wells that are particularly challenging. We've built in a little bit of contingency time should the contractor not be able to access and should we need to site a new location for the well.
That's great. Yeah, I was maybe the more important question I was looking for was like how labor intensive this work is, and it sounds like, you know, rather labor intensive, partially because it is like off the road and in essentially the forest land. So thank you.
Sure.
Council, any other questions?
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton?
So just to confirm, the amount in this contract modification should cover all of this work?
That's,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure, all the well installation and then all the monitoring and the reporting and everything. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini?
Kind of on that same track. So we've had a lot of contract modifications over time for this. Yes, this will get us the work done that we're being told here, which is great. My question is there a chance that there will be another ask before we're given what our potential remedies are or solutions, what we have to clean up? Like, what's the likelihood that we'll get another modification before we have to make a decision on how to clean up and proceed?
Ms. Fitz, do you want to start with that?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. So this scope will get us through preparation of the RI report. So the RI report will detail the results and it will, you know, screen all of the data to the relevant cleanup standards. And the Department of Ecology, you know, one of the goals of the RI is to determine whether a feasibility study is necessary. So the agreed order that the city signed indicates that, you know, after we go through this RI process, the concentrations of the different chemicals we're testing for, which is a pretty wide list, will tell us if additional, you know, if we need to go to the next step, which is evaluating those cleanup alternatives. So that will be one of the conclusions of this report of whether we feel that cleanup is warranted. And ecology makes the final decision, of course, on that. But this scope is intended to get us to that decision with ecology. And if ecology determines that a feasibility study is necessary, then that will push us into another phase of work, which would be another, which is currently not scoped.
Thank you.
So, yeah, okay.
Council, other questions?
Mayor Walters. I know, it's the first time I've done it to you.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Thank you. I'm curious why we have not broken this contract and separated it from the the decommissioning of the water plant. Is there a reason that we've just kind of continued it and not just started fresh for the A Avenue cleanup? Just because I think for the public, it's a little confusing why we keep adding on.
Yeah,
Ms.
it's a good,
Swetnam will answer.
thanks. It's a good question. And the reason why we haven't done that is this contract is structured with a master services agreement that lays out the ground rules of how we work with Anchor QEA. And when Anchor QEA was brought on board, we were already working on the water treatment plant decommissioning. And this project was added while that was still going on. And so it was phased out as a separate phase of work that's being done under that master services agreement. We're still satisfied that the terms of that master services agreement are in the city's best interest, and so it would be an additional contracting effort to now go through and do a separate agreement when we still have the master services agreement in place.
Council, any other questions? Council, any motions?
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I move that City Council authorize you to sign a modification to contract 21024 LEG 001 with Anchor QEA in the amount of $566,653, increasing the total contract price for both of these projects to $2,892,276 even.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract modification with Anchor QEA as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor of approving the contract modification with Anchor QEA say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion is approved. Thank you, Ms. Fitz. Thank you, Mr. Lunsford. One reason that we put this item on the agenda first ahead of other items is so that we could release our consultant and not make her sit through the rest of the meeting, but also so that we could get our council candidates a little bit of a preview of the fun agenda items that you get to deal with. It's not all parade permits and paving projects. So our next item is our Ward 1 City Council applicant interviews and appointment. And our HR Director, Kendall Moyle, will introduce this item.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the audience. Tonight, I'll be walking through the process for filling the Ward 1 City Council vacancy. I'll briefly review the background, the interview process, and the decision method before we move on to candidate statements. The vacancy was created on January 1, 2026, and Council has 90 days to fill it. We advertised the position and accepted applications through February 3rd. At the February 9th meeting, applicants each provided a 3-minute statement in open session. Following that, Council reviewed the applications, selected 5 candidates for further consideration, and adopted the interview protocol we'll be using tonight. For tonight's process, each candidate will have 5 minutes to provide a statement. They've been asked to explain why they are seeking appointment and to respond to several questions from Council. The intent is to provide enough structure to ensure key topics are addressed while still allowing each candidate the flexibility to share their expertise or experiences, priorities, and perspectives in their own way. The questions are as follows. Number 1, as a new council member, how would you approach the next 60 days? Number 2, What would you like to accomplish as a city council member in the 2 years remaining in this term? Number 3, how would you build support for that among council staff and the community, including people with significantly different perspectives from your own? Number 4, what are the most significant budgetary challenges that the city is facing? Number 5, how would you address those challenges? Number 6, what is one specific action you would advocate for within your first year, realistically within the city's authority to generate measurable new revenue? Number 7, excluding the financial position of the city, what do you see as the most pressing challenge facing Anacortes over the next 3 to 5 years? And number 8, what was your favorite job and why? After each statement, council may ask follow-up questions at the mayor's discretion. Council also has the option to enter executive session to evaluate qualifications if needed. There is no public comment during these meetings. However, written comments were accepted in advance. And as stated previously, council may modify the process at any time if needed. The 5 candidates selected for further consideration are Susanna Clements, John Gasser, Sarah Henry, Marcia Hunt, and Courtney Orrock. Each candidate will have 5 minutes for their statement. After that, council may ask any follow-up questions. Staff recommends that council select the successful candidate using a ranked choice voting method. Each council member would rank the candidates in order of preference, whether that is first through fifth, first through third, or another format that council determines. If no candidate receives a majority in the initial round, the candidate with the fewest votes would be eliminated, and those ballots would be redistributed based on the next ranked choice. This process would continue until one candidate receives a majority. Once a candidate is selected tonight, they will be sworn in at the February 23rd meeting. The appointee will serve until the fall 2027 election. And at that point, I'll step away now to allow council to deliberate and determine the process you would like to use for making your final candidate decision. Thank you.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I would suggest, I've been thinking about ranked voting and looking at different options of how to do that, including the Borda method that Mr. Fantini had suggested. And I have some concerns about it because it's kind of hard to understand the ranked choice voting. When the candidates, so do you, well, I have a lot of questions that I don't need to go into right now, but my point being is that I don't feel like we have 5 excellent qualified candidates. I don't have a 5th choice. I don't know that I have a 4th choice. And what I would prefer to do is what we do for Mayor Pro Tem, what we did when Councilmember Cleland McGrath and I were not on council and we applied, is nominations were taken from the bench and we voted for our top choice. Because I believe that voting in general is about a top choice, not ranking when we have such a small group of candidates and we have such a small group of voters. If we had, say, 40 voters, 100 voters, 1,000 voters, and we did ranked choice, I feel that that would give us a good representation. But with so few candidates and so few voters, I don't want anyone to come in last because I don't think we have a last. I'll just say that again. So I would prefer to do that over ranked choice voting. Picking your number 1 is easily explainable and defensible, and we can talk to our community about it, and it's very easily understood. Ranked choice, it's a little bit iffy, I feel like. And I like the clarity and the simplicity of picking number 1 and then seeing what happens.
And we threw out ranked choice as a suggestion. It's not something council had previously discussed. You're certainly not bound to it. Staff are prepared to attempt to implement ranked choice as well as the other method that Mr. Fantini suggested, or we can do something else. But I do think that it's appropriate for council to figure out what it would like to do up front here before we proceed to the candidate statements. So, council, is there other discussion?
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Fantini.
Thank you. So, yes, and thanks for, I know we spoke over the weekend, and I appreciate you sending out to the council so that I wouldn't have to, the idea that I had brought up. I do think I agree with Ms. Moulton that the ranked choice method works really well in large elections, but with 6 of us voting, it feels like eventually it's just kind of going to collapse to a head-to-head, a simple head-to-head really quickly. But the reason that I wanted to propose something simpler, like the Borda method, is that it captures everyone's full preference. So the way that works, just for those of you out there listening and interested, which I'm sure is most of you, each of us would rank the 5 candidates, and then we would score the rankings, and the candidate with the broadest support across the entire council wins. It's a little bit faster. It's, to me, a lot transparent, and it finds the person that we all can work with. I think when we're picking a colleague, that's a very appropriate way to go about it. I think when we're talking about modeling it after the mayor pro tem, I mean, the way we vote on mayor pro tem, that's our vote as a council for how we govern what we're doing, which is why I think that head-to-head or how we do it works really well. But my opinion is we're really kind of just casting the vote right now as a placeholder until everyone in Ward 1 has the opportunity to vote in an election that would be in 2 years. And just to kind of give a little bit more of a visual of how that method works, we would number candidates 1 through 5, so council member A puts candidate 1 as their top choice, so that candidate gets 5 points. Council member A puts another candidate as their second choice, that person gets 4 points, and so on and so forth down the way. And again, the purpose of that for me is that I agree that I think we have 5 phenomenal candidates. So I don't feel so strongly that I have to have my first choice. But I think this method allows for the entire council to get some of their preference across. So that was my reasoning behind that. But I'm interested to hear others' thoughts as well.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Cleland-McGrath.
Thank you. The proposal for the ranked choice voting was included in the packet. Hadn't really discussed it as a council or at a committee level at all prior to it being in the packet as a suggested option. Yesterday evening, I heard about the Borda method and started looking at that. I'd had a little more time for the ranked choice voting 123.org method just because it had been placed in the packet prior. I have real issues I have enough challenge with the RCV 123. At least I could go to the website and read the explanation of how the process works, round 1, round 2, round 3. The Borda method was quite convoluted. You talked about 5 to 1. I saw other methods when you start to do a deep dive. Sometimes it's 5, 3, 0. So I'm not confident with how the numbers will be, how the votes will be calculated. And if I don't understand how the votes are going to be calculated, I don't think that is a reasonable expectation to then put that upon the public to just trust us. Some of the information was there can be distortion through and tactical manipulation with Borda. I think that's also to a certain degree available with the RCV when we're only having 5 or 6 council members voting, and those votes are, from my understanding right now, are going to be public. So you're going to go down the line. There is opportunity for manipulation. I don't think that is what the public expects. I think that doing nominations to a slate and then voting for the first choice is much more transparent. I went on the MRSC website, which is municipalities kind of support really good examples, best practices for cities, municipalities within Washington State. For vacancies in local elected offices, they had a number of examples of how this process should work. After we're done with this, we probably need to codify some very predictable way of doing it. But what I didn't see was anyone using ranked choice voting. What I did see was them nominated to a slate. If there's a tie, there's ways to break it. With our form of strong mayor, there is the opportunity for the mayor to break the tie. But to me, voting for what we individually think is the best choice for Ward 1, after talking to folks, listening to their comments, receiving a number of comments from community members, I think that moving forward with the best choice by each of us is the most transparent way to handle it, and I think will keep people's confidence in the process much better than when we start to go into the weeds about these ranked choice votings and which method to use.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Young.
First of all, I want to say we have 5 incredible people. Truly, it is. And I came here tonight not sure how I wanted to vote. I wanted to listen to the follow-up comments about your vision for where we are, how we're going to get there. And for me, that's still critical because I honestly believe that any of the 5 would be extraordinary and that it only enhances the city in the direction we want to go. But also, I do think that sometimes in selecting just one, what we do is I don't want any of the other 4 to think for one moment that they weren't that close to getting there. And I want them to recognize that your role in this city is only beginning, that we truly need you and your help. And I don't want you to be discouraged. So sometimes in that ranked choice of a choice of one candidate versus the other, quite honestly, I have not made my mind up. I honestly haven't. And so for me, I think that to each of us to only select one, I think really doesn't tell the story of hope or belief that the other ranking choice of candidates would serve perfectly well. So for me, I did a little bit of research on this ranked choice recently after I realized that was also an option. And that, I believe ranked choice is a great choice. And I think what it allows us is to flush out and to be able to recognize the talents and the strengths that others are bringing to the table. And I think sometimes, too, for the community, it really shows that their candidate, because Lord knows I had phone calls, I won't say through the wazoo, but you know what I mean by that. But I appreciated that because I loved the passion that people were bringing to the table as to why. And, as a council member, even if I disagree with you about some of the points that you were making, it is my role as a public servant to give you due diligence, possibly something I may have missed, something you may say that enlightened me, and move me one way or the other. So in this case, though, I do think ranked choice is important, and I'm an advocate for that.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. McDougall.
I think I'm not strictly opposed to ranked choice voting. However, at 7 p.m. on Tuesday night, it feels a little bit like we're constructing the airplane while we're in the air. And the reason I say that is...
I think we prohibit airplane metaphors in 2026.
Right, yeah. Do we have to vote for all 5? Do we vote for 3? Is it scored 0 through 4 or 1 through 5? The PowerPoint says candidates are eliminated until a candidate reaches a majority. We each have 15 points that we could allocate, so 15 times 6 is 90. Does a candidate actually get 46? Or does a candidate win with like a bunch of 3s? And that's not the majority. So again, I'm not opposed to it, but there's a whole bunch of detail here where I don't know if it's how many hours we want to put into sorting out what that actually looks like tonight before we give folks a chance to speak.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Courier.
I know you looked at this a little bit and put it as a possibility. Is there a way that you could elaborate on your interpretation of ranked choice?
I'm regretting that we put this into the packet. I think that there is an explanation on the agenda bill that probably does as good of a job as anyone can, or at least I can. So the explanation there is with a ranked choice vote, each council member will be asked to rank each candidate from their first to fifth choice. If a candidate is selected as the first choice candidate by more than 50% of the council members, then they win. Done. That's simple and easy, I think.
Yeah.
If not, then the last place candidate, meaning the one with the fewest first choice votes, is eliminated, and that candidate's second choice preferences are reapportioned to others, and so on until a candidate clears the threshold of 50% of the vote plus 1. Now, also given the website that we've selected as the tool for that, there are no, it is highly unlikely that there would ever be a tie. In traditional ranked choice, you can reach a tie, and then the tie is resolved by random chance, like it would be in an election. But in this website, there's some amount of points apportioned to people that get higher rankings distributed amongst the voters. So that makes it a little bit more complicated. I do feel pretty confident we would need to use the website in order to do the math and figure it out, since this is all of our first attempts at this.
And Mayor Walters, I would just make a
Go
point.
ahead.
Yeah, that I do like the idea of it not ending up in a tie, you know, and eliminating that and putting that on you. And I would lean into ranked choice voting at this point, but I'd want to hear more discussion.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I have a question about the PowerPoint slide. It says if no majority, the last place candidate is eliminated and votes redistributed from eliminated candidate until a candidate reaches it. How are the votes redistributed? And I also want to go back to, I do not want to pick a number 5 or a number 4. To Councilmember Young's point about feeling, were you close, were you not close? Honestly, like, does anyone want to be number 5? I don't really feel like that's a great way to operate, and it's totally fine if people disagree with me. But I am opposed to that. And also, I also don't think of this Ward 1 appointee as a placeholder. This is a person who's going to work with us and our community and our staff for 2 very challenging years, the most challenging years I've seen ahead in my 7 years so far as a council member. So I think that ranked choice can also, what I read about the Borda system from the Electoral Reform Society in the UK is that it's open to tactical voting and it encourages voters not to complete their ballot in a true preferential order. I mean, that's one group's opinion, but I think I'm uncomfortable with the lack of clarity of doing 5 ranked choices. I am just not comfortable with that. But there are 6 of us, so.
And in response to your question, I think we will decline to answer those questions. The ranked the ranked choice method is not one that I don't think that staff or I can effectively describe for you, which is why we put it out there for you to research in advance. We do have the tool available, so we know that it would be used correctly and it could be audited, but it's rather complicated and probably beyond our capabilities to explain without a whole voting lesson.
Mayor Walters? Sorry.
Hold on. Mr. Young, did you want to speak next?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You know, I think even if we don't do ranked choice using the number 5, how would each of you feel about using ranked choice 1 through 3? I'm just plotting that out because I think at the end of the day, what I want to hear tonight from those that want the seat is I really want to hear out your thoughts, your answers to this question, their follow-up questions. I just think it's critically important. And although that there are a lot of lobbying, beautifully so, I would be honored to serve alongside any of you. I really would. But I think in this difficult choice of where we are right now, I think if ranked choice of 5 is a bit much, I would suggest 3. Or, you know, I'm just putting that out there. I just do think, though, that having one choice negates more than I'm comfortable with the willingness, the gift of public service that all of these candidates are offering to our city. I just think it does. And so I'm open, I really am. But if not 5, then 3. I just throwing that out there. Thank you.
And ranking 3 instead of 5 is possible with the tool, right? Yes, yeah, okay. Council?
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to those I offended by calling it a placeholder, what I am actually trying to say is I don't think that our decision-making process up here is any substitute for an actual election where people get to vote.
All right, Council, I thought that it probably is important for you to figure out how you want to run this process and at least determine how you're going to vote prior to hearing the candidate statements. If I'm right about that, are we going to reach that conclusion now?
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini?
I make a motion that we follow your ranked choice voting that is proposed in the packet.
Motion fails for lack of a second.
Mayor Walters.
Mayor Walters? Oh.
Ms. Killeen-McGrath?
Thank you. I was reflecting on last week's meeting and the lack of discussion that we provided to the public with regards to how we pared down to 5 candidates. My concern is by ranked choice voting, we are able to avoid having some really difficult discussions as a full council. We are elected to make tough decisions. We are elected, we have this unique opportunity where, yes, we are going to have to choose one person. While I think initially feels good that we can choose our 3 favorite, that doesn't achieve what we need to do. We need one capable council member of 7 council members. And I think it's reasonable for the public to expect us to have some really difficult discussions in public about who we think is the best person. I know I disagree that we're only allowed to vote for one person. The idea is that there will be a nomination to the slate. There could be one person, there could be 2 people, there could be 3 people. At which point the slate is set, then we would go down and each person would choose which one of the candidates. chances are we won't necessarily get to a final candidate the first time we go down the slate. But I think that that provides a lot more confidence with the public that we have done our due diligence when trying to choose our next Ward 1 council member. I would also agree with Mr. Young that I haven't made a final decision, and I want to hear their very short answers to a lot of in-depth questions. But I think we are shirking our responsibility by trying to do ranked choice voting. I think ranked choice voting makes a lot of sense when the number of voters is a larger population than what we're dealing with as 6 council members voting on 5 different candidates.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Courier.
I think that still with ranked choice voting, if I come up, let's say we do 3 people, I'm still going to have to justify those 3 people that I put there. It's not that I don't have to justify a single candidate. I can have difficult discussions around 3 great candidates. I think we're making this really difficult. I mean, I think that there's probably no perfect process, but I mean, I would make a motion for ranked choice voting for 3 candidates, and I think that I feel comfortable that we could all articulate our positions in that and move through the process. We have a tool on the website to help us through this, so we're not here all night. And I do trust everybody's perspectives, and there may be a lot more alignment than we think. And I think we could get to a place quicker and get to the candidate statement sooner. So my motion would be for ranked choice voting for top 3 with the ability to discuss those 3 choices in a way that doesn't make it sound like we're not.
I'd second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to eventually take the vote on the successful candidate via ranked choice voting by ranking the top 3 candidates. Discussion.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Cleland-McGrath.
I, again, have, based on the brief research I've done and the lack of explanation from either staff or any kind of expert auditor. We don't have an auditor. Normally when you do voting, you have the county auditor who's in charge of making sure our voting is done correctly. That being said, I would like to make an amendment to the motion so that each council member, if it's writes down their rankings on a piece of paper and passes it over to Mr. Franciac to read aloud.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to amend the main motion to require a paper ballot for the top 3 ranked choice voting. Council, would you like to discuss only this amendment?
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Courier.
I do like that amendment. I think writing those down and having those read aloud is a great way to go.
Mayor Walters.
Mr. McDougall.
If we do paper ballot, does that mean we're not using the online tool? And second question, before I could, I guess, support the amendment or the first motion, do we fully understand exactly what is meant by, and I'm looking at the PowerPoint, I'm sorry it's not up on the screen here, but do we know exactly what is meant by last place candidate is eliminated and votes redistributed from eliminated candidate until a candidate reaches a majority? I don't understand exactly what that means, and so I'm not entirely comfortable with the motion as it stands.
To answer your first question, if you do a paper ballot, Mr. Franciac or Mr. Hoagland will read them, but one of them will still be typing them into the online tool. And I think that's largely because we don't actually know how the process works at that next step. So you'll be trusting the tool. Yeah. Further discussion? This is discussion on the amendment to require the paper ballot.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
Would council members put their names on the, we would put our names because this is a
You would have to.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Secret ballots are not allowed.
To the and I'm not sure. It also is a little bit concerning that no one can address the question of what happens to the last place votes, because we don't know. So how are we voting in the system that we don't understand? So I will say that. I am wondering if an option is the top three, would they be assigned a point system? So every council member's first vote would get 3, every council member's second vote would get 2, and the third would get 1, and then add them up, and whoever has the most points wins. I mean, again, I feel like this is something that we're constructing as we're going, and I'm not entirely comfortable with it, but I think we can get to a place here where we agree.
I think that you are now describing the Borda method or
Sort
something
of.
like it,
Close, but not exactly.
and not the ranked choice method. So we would then not use the tool, and we would use a different tool. I am becoming increasingly uncomfortable with where we're going here.
Okay.
And I apologize that we do not have answers for your council members on the ranked choice method.
Mayor Walters.
Ms. Moulton, were you finished?
Oh, I'm finished, sorry.
Okay. Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Thank you. Do we have any examples of councils using this tool for filling a vacancy?
We have the example of Linwood, which has used a similar reverse ranked choice tool as they described it. And we have their spreadsheet, which we received yesterday. And maybe Mr. Franciac could describe it for you.
Right. So it's similar to what Ms. Moulton described. So the first choice gets 3 points, the second choice gets 2 points, and the third choice gets 1 point. Those are added up for a total. You can decide if the highest point getter wins, or you can decide if one or more of those candidates are eliminated and go to a runoff.
And with a one-round system, you may have less than a majority be the winner. That's why they had 3 rounds.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Mayor Walters?
Mr., well, wait, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Young.
No, I think that, quite honestly, in putting our choices forward, it really is in ranking 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. This is a voting by the body here, council, making a decision. The public, we've given great thought to what would be in the best interest of the public as well as the council in looking at what we have, what we don't have, what strengths we're missing and bringing forward. I think that the public in 2 years or in 2027, whenever the election is, will have the opportunity to have their voices heard. That's how we all got here. But I do think, though, that by each of us ranking our choice, we put that forward, and it allows us a compilation of those choices and ideas, and by virtue of who's getting the most points, that's just how we go forward. I think any other way, I just think that we have to make some choices. It's going to be a tough choice. And for the record, I'd like all of you to know I would love to work with you, whether on council or any other place. But at the end of the day, as my role as a public official, I have to make a decision. And I personally believe that in having a choice of 1, 2, and 3 in a points-based system, it allows the sentiment of each member of council to be heard and tabulated. That's just how any election system works. It's who gets the most votes, and that's what I'm really advocating for.
Okay, council, I have been derelict in my duty here to focus us on the motion that's on the floor at the moment, which is the proposed amendment to the main motion to vote via paper ballot. Is there any further discussion on that point? Hearing none, let's proceed to the vote on the motion to amend the main motion to require the vote via paper ballot. All those in favor of the paper ballot say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the main motion is amended to, and the main motion is to do ranked choice voting with top 3 ranks and do it via paper ballot.
Mayor Walters?
Council discussion on that motion. Mr. Fantini.
So Mr. Franciac had mentioned at the, end that if there is a tie, that there could either be, there were options as to what would happen with the tie. And I think it's important that that be decided by us and included with the motion, so that we're not making that decision after we cast our ballots. And what were the options? Could I ask what the options are, again, in the event of a tie?
In the case of the tie would be for the lowest. So you would come to it would depend. So if you did that by points, simply by points, the likelihood that you would have a tie for the top 2 would then go to a runoff. Right.
Mayor Walters? Do I
Continue.
still have the floor?
Continue.
Sorry. I'm trying to be really good. Would that runoff then go to a head-to-head vote, or does that runoff also then go to a point system, which I guess probably at that point seems like the same thing?
It would be a head-to-head vote.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Cleland-McGrath.
If I'm reading this correctly, we are voting to use rcv123.org, correct? To calculate?
That is the
to
current
tabulate
motion on the
votes?
floor.
So this is where, again, I am concerned because the fact that we don't understand how they're calculating ties is the problem. There is a whole thing where they talk about that official RCV uses random chance to settle ties. This works for large elections where ties are rare, but our mission includes helping small groups, a classroom of 25 votes, or a small civic organization where ties are common. We calculate a tiebreaker value for each candidate based on all voters' complete rankings. Each first choice vote is worth 1. Each subsequent vote is worth 2/3 the weight of the previous. 1 second, I just changed. So each subsequent choice is worth 2/3 the weight of the previous. So the second choice is worth 2/3. The third choice is worth 44/100ths. The fourth choice is worth 300ths. And so on. These values are added to create a tiebreaker score. The candidate with a higher tiebreaker score wins the tie. And this is exactly the problem, is the fact that all of council and the public does not know how we are going to calculate it, or how this process works. And that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Courier.
I thank you for clarifying that, because as long as we have a system in place that we can agree to, I think there's a sense of fairness with this. I mean, if there's a tiebreaker method in there, that's in the event of a tiebreaker of all of us putting our votes together, 1, 2, 3, and getting to that. But I think we still have this opportunity to hear people speak, to talk about who we think are the best choices, to put our names behind those, to address those. And if there's a tiebreaker system in there, I mean, I think that's fine unless you have another suggestion that I think the council would agree to.
Council, the motion on the table is to use the ranked choice method with the top 3 rankings and a paper ballot that Mr. Franciac would read aloud and then put into the tool. Further discussion on this motion?
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Fantini?
Apologies. So in the event of a tie, would we know that there was a tie before it was broken?
We know the answer Before it was broken?
Yes.
Let's have Mr. Franciac make his attempt here.
Once the data is uploaded to the site, the ties are broken by the math rubric that Ms. Cleland McGrath alluded to. So the ties will be visible on each stage. You can see each stage by clicking on it after the results are produced. So that's rcv123.org does that.
Mayor Walters.
Mr. McDougall.
So what Ms. Cleland McGrath just read off was kind of almost the inverse math of 3-2-1. It's 1 2/3, but not 1/3. It's a number higher than 1/3, 0.44. Is that okay? Like, it's because if we allocate 3 points, 2 points, 1 points, but the tiebreaker allocates more points for a third, does that actually hit the voter's intent?
Mayor Walters.
Ms. Moulton.
I think this system that we don't understand, if we choose to adopt it, is doing a disservice to the applicants, the community, and the existing city council. So I don't know if I can make a motion or not, but I think we need to do the one that's on the table.
The motion on the table is to use the ranked choice voting method, ranking top 3 via paper ballots that Mr. Franciac would read aloud and type into the tool.
Mayor Walters.
Ms. Moulton.
And then goes to a tiebreaker that's figured out immediately by a system that we don't completely understand.
By the tools system, yes.
Yes, okay.
Council, is there more discussion, or are you ready for the vote?
So you're saying this worked in the city of Linwood? I think if it worked in the city of Linwood in the event of a tie, I'm okay with it, and I think we proceed with the motion and the vote.
So specifically, Linwood used a somewhat different system. They used reverse ranked choice, as they described it. And they provided us a different tool, a spreadsheet, that does that one.
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Young.
Young. Mr. Young.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Didn't I say that?
Said, no, you said
I may have
Mr.,
passed
and I
out
wanted
there
to
for a
sort of
moment.
help you with that. I don't believe there's any perfect way to do this. I just don't. And I think if it were, everyone would use it. Hindsight is truly 20/20. I can look back over my life and with these visions that I have now, and there are a couple of things I would change. But what I'm saying is this is our best effort at being fair, at being able to represent the constituents of Anacortes by putting our best foot forward. It may seem a bit helter-skelter, but at the base of that is a desire to make sure that we're being fair, that we're giving that district exactly what it needs, and at the same time that we're giving the council the additional wherewithal and the additional point of view to make for even stronger council. So I'm just saying, I think if once we vote on this, if this ranked system doesn't work, which it's already a motion and a second, then we'll find another way. But I honestly don't believe that there's a perfect way to do it. I've read all 3 or 4 different kinds of ways to do this, and there are always going to be a reason why not. Some are valid, some are not. I'm just saying, we as a council may be setting the tone for other cities to say Anacortes did it this way, and so we're going to do it too.
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Fantini.
So I feel like I don't have as much confusion around the ranked choice voting, but understandably, I understand why people could. Going on this website, I'm just curious, would it make anyone feel more comfortable if we saw it in action, because there are practice voting on here where we could vote for our favorite ice cream flavor, and we could, I mean, it might sound ridiculous, but to me, when I'm trying to understand something, going through it oftentimes helps me to understand it, like actually experiencing it. So I can't imagine it would take more than 5 minutes. Well, it would take me a while to decide between strawberry and chocolate, but I can't imagine it would take a while for us to cast practice votes. So I'm wondering if it's worth the exercise in the 5 minutes for us to do the favorite ice cream flavor, allows ranking of 5 ice cream flavors, and just to see what that looks like. Is there, if that's how I learn, but I'm just putting that out there.
Candidates, I hope you'll stay with us. I assure you that as painful as this looks, it was not as painful as what Linwood recently went through.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
I object to that course of, that path. I was able to kind of play around with it when it was put in the pocket. And I think it appears I might understand it the most out of at least the council members, and I'm still against this method.
We have a motion and a second to use ranked choice voting, ranking the top 3 with paper ballots. Mr. Franciac will read and enter into the tool. Is there further discussion on that motion?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll proceed to the vote.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I would like this to be a voice vote. A roll call, I mean.
Second, if it needs it.
Does not need a second. Anybody can ask for a roll call vote at any point. So if there's no further discussion, we will take a vote. Hearing none, Mr. Franciac, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Courier,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Ms. Cleland McGrath,
No.
Ms. Moulton,
No.
Mr. McDougall,
No.
Mr. Fantini.
Yes.
Mayor, the ayes are 3, the nays are 3.
All right. The council is deadlocked. The motion fails for lack of a majority. Council, would you like to propose an alternative motion? If not, in the absence of any other voting method that you might adopt, the default would take precedence, which is simply that you would make a motion to appoint a candidate at some point. Hopefully not until after we've finished hearing from them. Council, would you like to proceed to the interviews?
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I make a motion to accept nominations from the bench, put together a slate with those nominations, and have each council member vote in writing for their top choice.
Mayor Walters,
Motion died.
do we second first, or do we, if I have an amendment first?
You would need a second first.
Second.
Okay, all right. There's a motion and a second to nominate candidates and then vote for your preferred nominee for the appointment via paper ballot. Mr. McDougall, you would like to
Mayor
speak?
Walters, yes. Just a slight amendment that the slate is no more than 3 candidates.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to amend the underlying motion to limit the slate to 3 candidates. I'm not sure how you're going to do that, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So the motion on the table is to amend the main motion to limit the slate to 3 candidates. Is there a discussion of that amendment? Hearing none, we'll take a vote on that proposed amendment. The motion is to limit the slate to 3 candidates. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it. What? Go
Or
ahead.
just a roll call vote?
We do have an alternative to that. We can do a show of hands. Is that good enough?
Absolutely.
All right. All those in favor, raise your
Mayor
hand.
Walters?
Mr. Young.
For the point of clarity, because believe me, I am confused at this point, would you restate the motion?
Yes.
For clarity?
The motion in front of the council at this moment is to amend the underlying motion to limit the number of candidates, number of nominees to 3. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay,
Let me
okay.
make sure I'm understanding what I'm voting for.
Okay.
All right. That the process is that we will limit it to 3 nominees, but we will each nominate someone? Or does it depend on which angle we come from, which of the 3 nominees that will be brought forward?
At the moment, the limitation is simply on the number of total nominees. We haven't gotten to your next question.
So just to make, I'm okay with that then, all right. But I want to make sure, because if we start from that end, the person that I think should be also in the ranking would be number 5. And
well-
I'm already ruled out, and that
Yeah,
is
that was my
inherent
point
unfair.
earlier. If you
Okay.
decide to nominate more than 3, we are going to have further process to limit it to 3. Okay, so
Thank you.
your vote was in favor?
No.
Your vote was no. Okay. The motion to amend the underlying motion has failed, so there is no limitation of 3 candidates. So the underlying motion is back on the table, and that is to nominate candidates and then vote for 1 candidate by paper ballot. Is there further discussion on that approach?
I'd like for the roll to be called
Well,
on this.
is there further discussion?
Oh,
Sounds like there is not further discussion, so we'll proceed to the vote, and this will be a roll call vote. So all those the clerk will call the roll on the motion to nominate candidates to a slate, and then council will be asked to vote by name for one of the candidates on the slate in writing that we will then read aloud.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Yes.
yes.
Ms. Moulton.
Whoops.
Mr. McDougall.
Yes.
Mr. Fantini.
No.
Mr. Courier.
No.
Mayor, the ayes are 4, the nays are 2.
The ayes have it and the motion is approved, so the voting method that you have selected is to nominate candidates to a slate. Council will then vote for each person, or 1 person each by paper ballot. Mr. Francois will read them aloud at the end. Council, I believe it is now an appropriate time to proceed to the candidate statements. If there is no objection, that's what we will do. All right, Mr. Franciac has provided me a random list of those candidates. And so the first candidate is John Gasser. Would you please come up to the podium and provide us your 5-minute statement? Sorry. Mr. Franciac will put 5 minutes on the timer, and you can
I have a point of clarification, though. So I structured my,
make sure that you're up on the
so I structured my portion of this by the question. So I
which
have
is
the
fine.
question and
You
response.
can do it however you would like.
Okay, and I'll read both.
Okay, so Mr. Franczak will put 5 minutes on the timer. Your timer is on the podium there. When you see the light blinking red, that means your time is up, and I will cut you off pretty much precisely at 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
I want to start by, excuse me, I want to start by saying I have a great respect for the work you have done and the hard decisions that you have had to make over the past few months. I also understand how difficult this challenge can be. What I hope to bring is potentially new ideas and a capacity to look at a broader picture to help prioritize and to understand what my role could be to move things forward. As a new council member, how would you approach the next 60 days? Ask questions, listen, read, learn. The following are 5 steps I would take. Gain an understanding of the City Council procedures as stated in Resolution 3188. Number 2, engage with Ward 1 citizens to understand what is important to them and carry forward their message back to the council as I hear it. 3, continue what I have started, which is to reach an understanding of the Anacortes city government by department and its operational life cycle. I would start with the council committee departments that I'm assigned to. 4, communicate often with the mayor, council members, city executives, business community, and last but not least, our citizens. 5, study the 2026 annual budget in depth, explore and gain detailed understanding of the current financial challenges and proposed actions to bridge the gap. Question 2, what would you like to accomplish as a city council member in the next 2 remaining years? Be a cog in the wheel of pursuing the goals that are stated in the Anacortes Comprehensive Plan Growth Management Act and county-wide planning policies with an emphasis on increasing revenue growth opportunities with diverse business industry and a variety of housing development. Number 2, I would find my role in addressing the shortfall list of reductions, relocations, and targeted revenue increases that are included in the 26 budget with a goal to close and eliminate the gap for the budget year. This is a quote from the 2026 annual budget. In 2024, building permit revenues totaled $297,000, a decrease of 28.7%. There was a decrease in all sectors of building, residential, multifamily, commercial construction permits. With the declining, this is me now, with declining interest rates, there may be a demand for new construction which will increase revenue for the city. I would like to offer to help support the building permitting process and associated software in an effort to expedite the process and reduce frustration for the applicant and the city staff if possible. This may also increase revenue. Number 4, in the end, as a public servant, I would like to have earned the respect of my peers, city employees, business leaders, and citizens by being a contributor in a successful council. Next question, how would you build support for that among city council staff and community, including people with significantly different perspectives from your own? I would be available, engage, be informed, listen, be patient, be amendable, which is open and honest, be direct, be objective, ask questions, keep an open mind, and deliver, and add a little humor. Next question, what are the most significant budgetary challenges that the city is facing? The city must close a $9 million gap in the 2026 budget. Wages and benefits increased by over 20%, but revenue did not. We must reverse the current trend of flat or loss of revenue over year for the past 4 years. Construction costs have increased nearly 50% over the same period. Sales tax revenues have been declining or flat. Our expenses cannot continue to exceed our revenue. How would you address those challenges? We need to increase city income through new taxes and rate adjustments and reduce costs by making significant cuts to city expenses, projects, and possibly staffing. City revenues would need to grow by approximately 8% each year to maintain current service levels as of October of last year. Also, I would promote industry, commercial, and residential growth and collaborate with existing and proposed small business to support their efforts. Next question, what is the one specific action you would advocate for within your year, realistically within the city's authority to generate measurable revenue? Contact and work with business leaders to attract growth in industrial and commercial business opportunities, including contracting. Excluding the financial position of the city, what do you see as the most pressing challenge facing Anacortes over the next 3 to 5 years? Creating an environment that will attract new industries, small business, affordable housing. It is my belief that it will lead to positive results for our schools, parks, library, museum, and more by growing the population base. The entire community will benefit. What is your favorite job and why? This is a difficult question because there are many aspects of my working life that I enjoyed, but creating a small business was the most enjoyable. In the beginning, creating the concept and the business plan. The next step was to design and build the space, most of it completed by me, and finally, open and operate the business. I had no idea how many people I was going to connect with in the community because of it. This was 25 years ago, and now I'm reliving that experience of connection in Anacortes, and I'm loving it.
And thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the time.
All right, our next candidate to give a 5-minute statement is Marcia Hunt. And FYI, when you see the yellow light, that means 30 seconds is left.
Is that about the right height? We're all good?
Sounds good.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Council, fellow community members. Council, thanks for inviting us back and for guiding our discussion tonight. If I'm appointed to join you, my first priority will be building healthy working relationships. Happily, the Ward 1 committee assignments provide an opportunity to work and learn from all 6 of you, as well as our fabulous staff in 6 different city departments. I'm not afraid to ask questions about what I don't know, and I'm not shy about sharing what I do. As an appointee, rather than an elected, I'd not be aiming to change council's current course. I do carry a somewhat different skill set and perspective from each of you, so I could extend the reach of your collective wisdom as we pursue the work already underway. My explicit goal for the remaining 2 years of this term is to collaborate with all of you on stabilizing our financial position in accordance with Council's own fund balance policy. I don't think that's a particularly controversial goal at this point. Our budgetary challenge, which became all too tangible last fall, comes down to slow revenue growth set against spiraling costs. Health insurance, energy, fuel, construction, costs in general have been rising largely beyond our control, even within a single budget year, and certainly within the span of a multi-year bargaining unit agreement. Salaries and benefits make up approximately half of our 2026 operating budget. People are expensive because people are valuable. It behooves us to retain and make the most of the expertise of our employees. So how do we afford that? Mayor and staff are already scouring operations for cost savings, actively seeking outside funding, fine-tuning new tools to give us better real-time control of the budget, smoothing permitting so more tax-generating projects can break ground, and adjusting fees for services to cover actual costs. We see that on the agenda tonight, in fact. The framework is now in place for the event center, and the comp plan update is complete, congratulations, both of which support our economic development goals. In other words, we're on the right track. But council still needs to evaluate each expenditure presented to it for approval. Is it in the budget? If not, does it foster revenue growth commensurate with the investment? In short term, what budget line item will have to yield? I would work diligently with my colleagues on the Finance Committee and Mr. Hoagland's team to monitor and communicate the state of city finances and to strategize expenditures in light of cash flow. One revenue source we have not recently revisited is endowment funding. Unlike taxes, endowment funds can allow those who care specifically about some operation of the city to vote with their own dollars. In the late 1990s and 2000s, hundreds and hundreds of people in Anacortes and beyond donated over $2 million to the city's own Forest Lands Endowment Fund. This year, $150,000 of accumulated income from that endowment is being put to work to help realize the Heart Lake shoreline restoration, leveraging RCO grant funding. The endowment fund model could provide long-term support for other departments that typically rely on the general fund. Beyond stabilizing the budget and beyond the associated proactive capital facilities planning, we need to remain responsive to the ever-changing face of our community. In my volunteer work and daily life around town, I encounter faces that have transitioned through life stages since I met them 20 or 30 years ago. And I encounter enthusiastic new faces on the scene. That shifting collage keeps us vibrant, but it also challenges us to ensure that our facilities and our services and our development code adapt to our evolving demographics. In closing, since you asked, what I really have enjoyed in my jobs is working with people I can learn from and for people I can help.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Our next candidate is Courtney Orrick.
Thank you. Good evening, council members, Mayor Walters, city staff, and residents of Anacortes. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. This is an interesting position in that whoever is appointed has 683 days from their appointment this evening until the end of their term. That may seem like a lot, but as my grandmother used to tell me, time moves faster with each passing day. Given that this is a shortened term, it is critical to engage quickly and constructively. In addition to any required trainings, deep diving into the Washington Association of Cities and MRSC resources, the first 60 days of my term would see me meeting with the mayor and council members one-on-one, as well as each department director, starting with those whose committees I would be working with. I would like to learn where they see their departments in both the short and long term, what hurdles they see in getting there, and how council can help. I would also request to attend their department meetings and meet their team members. I'd like to meet the teams, listen, and learn. There's an amazing variety of talent and knowledge working for the city, and the more we know each other and how to leverage each other's skills, the better we will do for our community. This understanding will also start laying the groundwork for something I would like to accomplish during this term, which is having a strategic plan for each department and the city as a whole that looks in a 1, 3, and 5-year view so that council may prioritize and allocate resources accordingly. This differs from the comp plan in that it would be focused on specific, prioritized goals, actions, and resource allocation to address immediate needs, not just from a capital perspective, but from an operational perspective as well. Given the budgetary challenges the city is facing, having a multi-year view of each department will help council not just for the upcoming year, but for the out years as well. The city is currently facing revenue stagnation coupled with increased expenses, which will mean council will have to be incredibly deliberate on where resources are allocated. As we saw in the 2026 budget sessions, expenses were and continue to be cut. However, unless we are able to start growing the revenue side of the equation, the primary option council will have will be to cut expenses, which is not only an impact to city employees and departments, but the residents of Anacortes as well. In my opinion, the best area to grow on the revenue side is to broaden the sales tax base. This council position will not sit on the Economic Development Committee, but I would advocate for something I discussed during my campaign, which is an ad hoc task force made up of members from the city, port, as well as any members of local businesses that would like to join. This group would be tasked with coming up with ideas to drive economic development in the city and would also advertise for help from Anacortes residents that may have a background in this. This town has a huge wealth of experience and we need to tap into that. And it sounds like it could complement what the Economic Development Committee is already talking about. One item I would like to see in 2026 that would have a positive economic effect for the city would be steady and incremental forward progress for potential construction and development projects. One example is the Fidalgo Landing project, which has the potential for immediate and long-term economic contribution. I understand that there are many different opinions in the community regarding the Fidalgo Landing project, and that there are those who do not agree with me. To engage stakeholders to build support, I would focus on listening and understanding priorities and concerns. With council and staff, that means being respectful of expertise and working collaboratively. With the community, it means being accessible, transparent about trade-offs, and clear about why decisions are made. I believe you build support by being willing to work cooperatively on solutions, even when there are differences in perspective. New development also brings its share of challenges, including how to manage growth and change while preserving community character and quality of life. A significant challenge will be balancing thoughtful growth with maintaining what makes this community special. I think the reason you all sit on the dais and we all are out here is that we all care deeply for this city and want to do what we can to ensure it retains those characteristics that brought us here and keep us here. Being appointed to this position would be an honor. I have worked with different organizations and different industries, and each has provided me with the opportunity to learn and see things from a different perspective. The biggest perspective shift and most fulfilling job was becoming a mom. Nothing is more humbling than going from working with a team of professionals, managing a multi-billion-dollar portfolio, to being screamed at by a tiny human who could care less what your prior experience is. But outside of motherhood, my favorite job was with Sunrise Children's Foundation. This was by far the hardest professional challenge I've ever faced, with thousands of low-income families relying on their services. I was brought in to restructure an organization that was going through what the board thought was a tight but positive cash flow situation. It quickly became obvious that it was a massive negative cash flow situation and the organization would be insolvent within 90 days. I had to build trust with people that had known me for a matter of days to guide me through their operations and help cut whatever expenses we could in order to keep programs going. This included working pro bono, reductions in force, furloughs, working with vendors, consolidating admin overhead, and much more. I'm happy to say that we made it through reworking policies and procedures across the organization, and I still keep in touch with many of my former colleagues. While I hope not to have to repeat many of those actions, my experience shows that I'm able to work through near-term pressures while also making decisions that support long-term stability and success. Thank you again for your consideration.
Our next candidate is Sarah Henry.
Can you hear me?
Get a little closer, I think, to the mic.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
You really can't get too close to the mic.
Awkward. Okay. Good evening, Mayor Walters and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to be considered for this appointment, especially alongside such a strong group of applicants. I grew up in Anacortes and returned home after 25 years away because I believe local communities are where change becomes tangible. My professional life has centered on building and scaling organizations focused on equity, health, and collective impact. I now want to bring that experience home in service of this community. If appointed, my first 60 days would focus on listening, alignment, and fiscal clarity. I would meet individually with each of you and with department leadership to understand priorities, constraints, and long-term obligations. I would review the operating budget and capital plans carefully, and I would spend time with residents, especially those who feel disconnected from city processes. Before advancing ideas, I would make sure I would understand both the institutional realities and the lived experience of our community. Over the next 2 years, I would focus on 3 areas. First, strengthening civic trust and communication. Throughout my career, I have worked at the intersection of diverse stakeholders. As founding executive director at the Global Center for Gender Equality, I brought together researchers, implementers, donors, and policymakers across sectors and ideologies. My role was often to translate across perspectives, clarify shared ambition, and build the trust necessary for collective action. Anacortes needs the same bridge building locally. We are living in a moment of polarization and distrust of government. Most our residents want the same core outcomes: safe communities, attainable housing, economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and responsible governance. I would champion structured town halls and facilitated community conversations designed not simply for comment, but for dialogue. Spaces where trade-offs are acknowledged openly, competing perspectives are surfaced respectfully, and decisions are made with clarity and trust. Second, fiscal stewardship grounded in strategy and values. At Stanford University, I led the spin-off of the Global Center for Gender Equality, negotiating across the university leadership, donors, and partners to chart a sustainable path forward. The work was not simply financial. It required aligning stakeholders with different risk tolerances and incentives, building consensus around a long-term vision, and ensuring that our team and programs could continue with stability and integrity. At the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I advised senior leadership on large investment decisions. My role was to bring a gender equality lens into how resources were allocated, asking who benefits, who is left out, and how impact could be deepened for those most overlooked. The work required rigor analysis, but also the ability to facilitate honest conversations about priorities and trade-offs. Those experiences reinforced for me that budgets are not neutral. They reflect our values. Like many cities in Washington, Anacortes faces constrained revenue growth alongside rising infrastructure and public safety costs. In this environment, disciplined prioritization and transparent communication are essentials. Budgets require clarity about who we are serving and how we align those resources with community priorities. This is the lens that I would bring to Council. Third, preparing Anacortes for growth and resilience. Our most pressing challenge over the next 3 to 5 years is navigating change while preserving community character and belonging. I am the proud mother of 3 wonderful children in both elementary, middle, and high school. I care deeply that this remains a place where they and all of our children feel they belong. That requires thoughtful planning, thoughtful land use planning, infrastructure foresight, and inclusive engagement so that growth feels shaped by the community rather than imposed upon it. My favorite professional work has been building institutions from the ground up because it is fundamentally about people. I value bringing diverse perspectives together and helping groups move from disagreement to shared direction. Leadership involves hard choices, but not everyone will agree. But when decisions are made through transparent processes and trade-offs are explained clearly, people can understand the different points of views, even when they differ. That commitment to clarity, fairness, and bridge building is the mindset I will bring to this role. Anacortes is who shaped who I am. I believe our city can model what local governance looks like at its best: principled, transparent, fiscally responsible, and committed to caring for every member of this community. If appointed, I will lead with clarity, humility, integrity, a little dark humor, and a genuine desire to bring people together around what we share.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. And finally, our next candidate is Susanna Clements.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Walters, council members, fellow finalists, and everyone here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and yes, I do promise to stay within the 5 minutes tonight. As I shared last week, I want to reiterate my commitment to this city and to this position has not changed. I grew up here. I'm deeply rooted in this community. I have also lived and worked in other regions, built a career in corporate America, and then made the intentional choice to move here, back home, to raise my family. That perspective, both local and national, matters. Part of why I'm asking for this appointment is because I believe in bringing a unique balance to this council. My career has been centered on identifying problems, building practical solutions, and delivering results. I take that same approach serving with Anacortes Youth Football, Fidalgo PTA, the Anacortes High School Hall of Fame Committee, and honestly, every single day as a parent. If appointed, I would start immediately by listening, learning, and caring personally so I can challenge directly when needed. This role requires thoughtful listening and creative problem solving, as we've seen here tonight. In my first 60 days, I would meet with each and every one of you, department heads, city staff, community organizations, and key regional partners like the Port of Anacortes and members of the Anacortes School District. I'd spend my time talking with residents and business owners, making sure I understand the wide range of perspectives that are reflected in Ward 1. I'd also dig into the existing plans already outlined in the comp plan, things like truck routes and EV infrastructure, so we can build on work that's already in flight rather than starting from scratch from my own agenda. Building support for the city initiative starts with building relationships. That's true of any leadership role, and this open Ward 1 seat is no different. I would prioritize transparency, sharing updates, communicating clearly, and inviting ongoing feedback. With my background in marketing and communications, I can help make sure our community feels informed and engaged. We all heard last week, and here again tonight, our biggest challenge right now is our budget. Funding infrastructure upgrades like parks, transportation improvements, and EV infrastructures, while also maintaining current service levels, is not an easy thing in a time of rising costs. We have to face that head on. This is not a one simple fix, and we're done. Our core responsibilities must come first: roads, water, parks, and public safety. These are our must-haves. Tax dollars should prioritize essential services and infrastructure maintenance. But prioritizing these doesn't mean saying no to growth or future improvements. It means being strategic as a group. We have to maximize impact and efficiency. We have to essentially do more with less. My number one priority, and what I want my impact to be over these next 2 years and beyond, is the MJB project. This project not only provides an immediate influx of capital to our city, but it spins our economic flywheel. This creates jobs, creates new businesses, creates opportunity for urban development, housing, other things to help our city grow and expand while not compromising who we are at the core. How can we think creatively about partnerships that create this mutual success? How can we strengthen oversight and process so development works for both the city and the business community? These are the kinds of solutions I want to help move forward and work and partner. 5 minutes won't solve every issue in front of us, but I'm ready for the challenge. I'll hold myself accountable for smart, transparent decisions that make our city more effective and more responsive. I'm eager to put my experience in strategic planning, financial stewardship, and teamwork to work for Anacortes. This job requires collaboration, integrity, and a constant focus on the people we serve. We must not lose sight of that. Together, we can shape an Anacortes that thrives, honoring our character and history while embracing smart, forward-thinking solutions for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clemens. All right, I just want to say that I am immensely proud of all 5 of you finalists and also of candidates from last week. I've always said there's a lot of talent in Anacortes, and I didn't know all of it was in Ward 1, but Council previously had decided and adopted the rule that follow-up questions would be allowed at the discretion of the chair, and I'm going to exercise that discretion now. I would like all 5 of you to come forward to the table and grab a microphone. Your first test will be turning it on. Please line up in the order in which you were called. So Ms. Clements at that end, Mr. Gasser at this end. So John Gasser, Marcia Hunt, Courtney Orrock, Sarah, oh, look at you. You figured it out all on your own. Okay, so we are going to allow one question from each council member. As we ask a question, I'll then ask each candidate to respond to that question. Then we'll go to the next council member. We will start with Marcia Hunt, and then we will rotate the answers. And Mr. Franciak will put a 1-minute timer on, which you'll be able to see at the podium. So each candidate will have 1 minute to provide your response. I will also be timing the council members to make sure that they do not go on and on with their questions. I was looking at Luke.
Thank you,
yes.
Mr. Walters. Thank you.
That might help. First, was there a question? Oh, they will both light up. I hope. Okay, so another question? Nope. That was a good effort. Okay. All right, so we'll start with Mr. Courier. You may ask, and not required, but you may ask a follow-up question. You have 1 minute to do so.
After seeing what just went on tonight,
Is your mic on?
Oh, yeah, shoot. Yeah, after seeing what happened tonight, this is probably a pertinent question. Tell us about a time when you helped move a divided group towards a decision that had real financial or community impact. What specifically did you do, and what was the outcome?
All right, Ms. Hunt, you'll have 1 minute to answer.
Well, I'm thinking back to years ago when I was on the Forest Advisory Board. We worked on a prior iteration of the Forest Management Plan. You're going to see a new one this year, I think. And there are a lot of stakeholders who use the woods, and we had to listen to a lot of different people who had very different opinions. There was not a financial result from that, but it was kind of acrimonious sometimes. But we managed to come up with a way to give everyone access to some part of the woods at some time.
Thank you. Ms. Orrick.
Thank you. I will probably go back to what I spoke about in my 5 minutes. Working with Sunrise Children's Foundation, when you're having to make changes like that in such a short period of time with people who just met you, there's going to be a lot of people that don't understand, don't trust, don't have any idea what's going on. And so it took a lot of open communication, sitting down with people, walking them through exactly why I was doing what I was having to do, especially for the people that were being laid off. Those were very difficult conversations, but they were explained. Fortunately, we were able to rehire them back once we got on better footing. But that was probably one of the most divided groups between admin and line staff. We really had to educate them on what the concerns were and how we could get through them.
Thank you. Ms. Henry.
Thank you. I think probably one of the most challenging situations that I've been in is when I led the Global Center at Stanford University, and we spun out into an independent nonprofit organization. So it required negotiations at all levels, both at the university level, because we managed a budget of about $30 million. So how did we negotiate it a win for the university that we were outside and working with academics, to then the most important part that was also the most challenging was, at that point in time, we had about 85 staff. So how did we secure staff that were at a university that had incredible health care, that had stability into, hey, we're going to spin this into an organization and we're not sure what that will look like. So being able to meet across, ensure that our priorities were our people, were the heart of it, being able to ensure that it was a transparent process so that people could come with questions and we could answer them, and really communicating at every level what that looks like to all the various stakeholders was how we were able to successfully spin and keep 100% of our staff.
Thank you. Ms. Clements.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to use a current work example. So right now I work for Amazon. We are working through some rebranding across one of our current line of products. Leadership and stakeholders are very divided. Easiest thing we could do was take a look at what is the actual impact to customers. When we as a leadership group, when we as a group of people are taking a look at big sweeping changes with very strong opinions on both ends, it's what is the impact to the customer? What is the impact to our bottom line? Customer first, financial second. And that should be our guiding principle. We closed this out actually on Friday, and we're able to come to a resolution that brought both sides together, where we were able to make the minimum changes actually required by law and actually create a savings versus what was budgeted.
Thank you. And Mr. Gasser.
So that's a broad-reaching question, and I worked for several companies, corporations that were acquired, and there were different reasons for scaling up revenue and coming up with different schemes to address that. And a lot of them were around the technology for protecting data. And one of the cases was in 2001 when the towers were hit. A company that was based in the tower obviously was destroyed, and we had to recover their data and get their company back online so they wouldn't lose their entire revenue. I'm struggling here because there's so many examples of people and their data and how important it is to running the organizations. But for the companies that I worked for, I was in charge of sales, and I had to generate revenue and was challenged quarter after quarter, year after year with increased revenue demands. And we did so. Companies did well. They sold. And I ended up the last 10 years at a regional company based out of Denver.
Thank you.
I hope that answers the question.
All right. Well, that went very well. For our next round, answers will begin with Ms. Orrick, and Mr. Young will ask the question.
Here in Anacortes, it would seem to some we have a lack of cultural diversity, where in fact we do have a diverse part of our community that's here. Some are at the table, some may not feel that they could be at the table. But when we really look at the makeup of our town, it really is far more diverse than on the surface. So my question to you as a council member is, how will you ensure that all voices and cultures are heard and be intentionally included in all aspects of your council work as a public servant?
I think I would just approach that how I approach most of my work, which is just talking with people, listening with people, really understanding their concerns. You know, especially Ward 1 is a smaller geographic area, which is a little bit easier than those council members that are at large that have the entire island. So it really presents a great opportunity to go around Ward 1 a lot more easily. But there's great opportunities to visit all city limits with that. You know, I'm a trustee at the library. There's lots of programs at the library. There's lots of interactions at the library that I have with different people in our community. So again, I think I would just approach it as I approach everything, which is being very open and willing to listen and learn and talk to people.
Thank you. Ms. Henry?
Thank you. This was one of the things that I feel very strongly about that I talked in my 5 minutes about is I think what I would really love to do is to facilitate town halls and different forms of discussion, because I found in my work that you have to reach out to diverse communities. It's how you can create the container to invite people in and how you create that table. And I think there are multiple ways to do that, but it also requires extending an olive branch and looking for those communities, but also creating different environments that bring people in. Because some environments, people are not going to be comfortable coming to city council. So how are we creating those environments in different places within the community, whether that's in forest lands or whether that's at the library or whether that's in different settings that engage different audiences. So being really intentional about how we set up and how I would set up those types of conversations to make sure that we're reaching out to those and meeting them where they are instead of setting one table and expecting everybody to come to us.
Thank you. Ms. Clemens?
Yeah, I would agree with some of the answers here in creating space, meeting folks where they're at versus expectant for them to come to us with problems. In terms of Ward 1 and this being unique, we are probably the most unique in that we have a contingent of residents, we have a contingent of Downtown Business Association, and we have a working waterfront and marina. So I would actually argue that this is probably one of the most diverse areas in our city to represent, and that creates its challenges in and of itself. So by going out to businesses, hosting meet and greets, meeting folks in their homes or their gathering places, wherever that may be, but there are 3 different unique sets of residents and people to serve within this ward, making it diverse on its own.
Thank you. Mr. Gasser?
Yes, I think there's a couple of different ways to do this, and I would agree with the panelists on, creating an environment where everyone could meet. Let's say for Ward 1, I would talk to Jeff Vogel and see if we could get the meeting room in the library to structure that. And meet face-to-face with people is key. Also with disparate groups, get engaged with the community, find out what communities need support, and engage with those communities on their turf. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Hunt?
I think it's absolutely true that there are many, many people in our town who we will never see at City Hall, and many people just aren't comfortable with that. Many people's realities of their jobs, their responsibilities, that's not possible. I'm somebody who takes the bus. I probably have more Scout miles than any city staff or council person under my belt. I do have neighbors. I live in a very diverse neighborhood. And so I talk to people directly. I talk to people at the bus stop. I talk to people at the playgrounds. I talk to people where they hang out. And I would continue to do that because I don't think you're going to gather a lot of people. You're not going to take people's time to come and talk to you. You got to, as someone said, meet them where they are.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Cleland McGrath, you're up. You may ask a question, and then we will start answers with Sarah Henry.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Walters, and thank you all for being willing to answer all these questions on the fly. I think we've had a number of questions and really strong answers with regards to how you approach this position. In reality, I feel like once you're in the position, you hear a lot of really kind of basic questions, comments. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on traffic, downtown parking challenges, your thoughts on roundabouts and bike lanes, because I think that that is something that we hear all about and people have very strong opinions. So have at it.
Never really thought deeply about this. So, no, I think in general, I would say, with regards to, I'll start with the bike lanes, because I'm a huge fan of bike lanes, and I have to say, from also experiencing the new changes around commercials in front of Safeway where there's now a bike lane, and watching everybody still use it as a turn lane, and realizing I have stronger opinions than I thought I did. So I think, in that, I think it's the balancing of practicality. I think there are limits of what we can do, but I think making and ensuring that there is space for people in the bike lanes, ensuring that we have adequate parking, and thinking about how we best use those space and those decisions. But to be honest with you, this isn't like something I've thought deeply about on the fly, so.
Thank you. Ms. Clements?
Yeah, this is actually an interesting one for me because I do have some big thoughts, big feelings here. My children go to school at Fidalgo Elementary School, so I travel 8th, R Avenue, and out of town. I have a kiddo at the middle school. I avoid K Avenue at all costs. My traffic pattern is one that I note a couple of different things, specifically around parking in our highly congested areas around 8th and Commercial, around 8th and O, is a hazard, especially for residents within Ward 1. That is a dangerous intersection that at any given time, you are a half a second away from a major accident. The bike paths are interesting. Down 6th Street, there is a designated bike path that not many people know about. So how can we market that? How can we really exploit that and let citizens know? The last thing is about parking. I have big feelings about parking along Commercial and the restaurant parklets. Not enough time.
Thank you. Mr. Gasser?
Yes. I think the answer is a common one. It's educating the public. I think there are changes going on right now with the traffic plan, especially on Commercial, that are hard to deal with right now at times for people, but that's a work in progress. Things are going to be completed, and I think understanding the master plan, the final plan, what the concept is, and getting that out to the public is great. So that would be up to me in Ward 1 to educate people. How do I do that? Got to get creative.
Thank you. Ms. Hunt?
I'll start off by saying I'm a huge fan of roundabouts. I wish we could put them at every intersection. Just saying. So traffic is something that I think is a perceived problem, often more than an actual problem. And sometimes, I know we have put out counters before, and so we can tell people, we can give people actual data to say, well, actually, you do make it through that intersection, unless it's the Safeway intersection, in this amount of time. Sometimes getting people to understand what's actually happening helps them. I am a fan of bike lanes, but I don't think that we need to put bike lanes on all of our busy streets. Frankly, as a cyclist, I'd rather use a side street than try and cram a bike lane into a traffic lane. And I'm afraid I don't have big thoughts on parking because I don't park downtown. But I know a lot of people do, and again, if we can show them that there is parking just a block away.
Thank you. Ms. Orrick?
So actually, to what Ms. Clement said, there actually is a great bike lane map up in the planning department, and I think if we promote that more, I didn't know about it until I went to the planning department to look for things, and there's a beautiful map that shows you where all the bike lanes are. So I think that's something can definitely be promoted. Downtown parking, I think, is an issue. I was down there today trying to load something from a store, and I parked with my hazards on in an area that maybe I shouldn't have parked in, but I needed to, and we get busier in the summer. I mean, we're in February right now, and it was packed downtown because the sun was out and everyone was very excited. But downtown parking needs to be reevaluated, and I know that's part of the Streetscapes project that's being looked at. I think that's a great thing to continue to look at. You can't have businesses downtown where people people just don't like to park far away from where they want to get to. And I understand a block may not seem like a lot, but in their perception, oh, I'm just not going to do it today. I'll come back another day. And then sometimes that day just doesn't happen. So I'm a big proponent of looking at new parking options.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Moulton, you're up next to ask your question, and we'll start answers with Ms. Clements.
Okay, thanks everyone for your answers so far and all your work and thoughtfulness. So we talk a lot about the economy, and I would like to know about how you support our existing local businesses.
Okay. I think my husband left to go get my kids, but he can attest that I am a shopper at heart. I'm a product person. In terms of how I support our businesses here in Anacortes, I think the first thing is I frequent all businesses. I bring my kids. I refer people. If I find something I love, I'm the first person to utilize social media, let family know, let friends know. The other thing I like to do is I like to ask business owners how I can help support them. What are their struggles? Is it a membership-based business? Is it product-based? Can I order online? How can I help them? They are the owners and stewards of their business. If I am a fan of theirs and I'm coming into their shop, they're going to be able to tell me by just a quick, simple conversation, how can I help you as a resident of Anacortes? How can I help make you successful?
Thank you. Mr. Gasser.
Yes, my wife and I actually limit our online shopping. We try to find what we can in the city before we leave. We're big supporters and believers in that. It just helps. It helps the community tremendously to spend the money here. So we try to do that as often as possible. That's number one. I'm a chatty guy. I think for you that know me, I wave at everybody on the road. It's ridiculous. And I like to visit businesses and get acquainted with people. Tasha, the Creative Hub, Franny, it's too bad she had to close her door. She was such a great person and worked really hard at her work. The Clay House, you name it, my wife's involved there. We just like to be a part of the community. We really do enjoy Anacortes, and we love it, and we want people to be successful, so we'll continue to spend our money.
Thank you. Ms. Hunt.
I do support local business exclusively, except for occasional runs to Christensen's Nursery. I'm guilty. But everything else I get in Anacortes. I'm not an online shopper. And I am able to find what I need from our merchants in town who are fantastic, who will order things for you. If they don't have it, I feel so blessed to live somewhere where we can get what we need.
Thank you. Ms. Orrick?
Same. I love to try to shop here first. Stores here will order things for you. As my daughter calls it, the healthy food store, the health food store. They carry so much stuff that I used to go over to Mount Vernon to get, and I can just find it here. It's wonderful. In addition to retail dining that we enjoy, we also try to do as many services as we can in town, auto repair, any type of outdoor adventure. We have so many things here, kayaking. So just trying to support as many diverse types of businesses as possible, retail, dining, service, adventure. So that's what we try to do.
Thank you. And Ms. Henry.
Thank you. I love this question, mostly because I have 3 kids, and we actually, as a family, sat down about 6 months ago, and we've had a challenge at the family of how do we buy everything locally, which has been really fun, and it's been really neat to get to know all of the businesses and towns. And as you were saying, it's also just incredible how people in the town and businesses show up. What we've found that people go out of their way to help us order for special birthdays or family stuff has been incredible, and just the depth of ability of things that I think previously we didn't. And so it's been really neat to not buy anything or try to buy as little as possible online and to get to know the businesses and buy locally because we have so much available.
Thank you. Thank you all. All right, Mr. McDougall, you're up. You can ask your question, and we will begin this round of answers with Mr. Gasser.
All right. First of all, thank you all very much. This has been amazing, so I really appreciate it. We've talked a lot tonight about like kind of the big ones, the budget, the local economy, housing. I'm actually curious to just expand it a little bit. Like, what is something outside of those kind of couple big topics that you would be passionate about working on for the next couple of years?
Well, I'm a big user of and frequent visitor of the ACFL, is that right? And my wife and I just have a new lab. We always go up there and we hike around, and the lab loves to swim. But I would like to participate in making sure that the park receives what it needs to remain a healthy environment, and to make sure that people are aware of it. When I tell people from out of town that visit, and I got a lot of people that visit, family, but that there's 60 miles of trails up there, it's just, they're like, are you kidding me? And we take them up to the forest, and they really enjoy it. The natural areas in this area are, obviously everybody knows this, they're just stunning. They're just unbelievable. I mean, from Mount Baker to the ocean, we've got it all. So I promote that with people, try to get them to move up here and support everything about what we have in our natural environment, our parks, our city, blah, blah, blah.
Ms. Hunt.
Well, traditionally, I've been much more involved with the parks and the forest lands, as John has been. But at this point, since I retired, I've been more involved with the library, and that is something that has become my new passion. I'll be there tomorrow morning recovering books, as a volunteer. I work at the Friend Shop selling books, and that's a fantastic way to meet a cross-section of people. People who live here and people who visit. A lot of people kill time on their way to the ferry. It's just a fantastic place to be. And so I'm super committed to making sure it remains available to everyone as many hours as we can possibly be open, with as much staff to help as we can.
Thank you. Ms. Orrick?
Thank you. I think what I'm excited to be working on outside of the financials, because I do actually really enjoy that, is the other committee work that this position has been assigned to. So library, I'm obviously love the library, as does Ms. Hunt. Museum, gone into the museum actually multiple times. I did not realize we had so much, and especially when you go down the stairs, there's a lot in that museum. I think learning more about that, maybe where some opportunities are with the museum. Parks and Rec, I mean, I just came from my daughter's basketball practice this evening. So much to do with Parks and Rec, and also public safety. I've learned some with it when I went to the Anacortes Citizens Academy. Love to learn more about the police department, the fire department, but I'm really excited to just deep dive into those areas. And go from there.
Thank you. Ms. Henry.
Thank you. I've thought a lot about this. I think the thing I'm most excited about in what I can bring and what I'm excited to dive into is really thinking about civic engagement and also ways to communicate what's happening. I'm also really in really connecting also with the schools, even at my daughter's elementary school and the middle school and the high school. Actually communicating how cities work. I also am fascinated by the lack of what my children actually know of how stuff gets done in the world. So just thinking about ways that we can communicate things that often people think as benign, or they don't think that they have a role. Mr. Young, what you've talked about is how do we get engaged? I'm really fascinated of thinking outside the box, that things that people don't think that they can get involved in, they can, and starting to understand that they do have a voice, and what are those creative ways that we can be communicating, gathering people, and really bringing people around to be more engaged in this city, because I think there is so much talent and so many incredible people doing things.
Thank you. Ms. Clemens.
It's going to come as no surprise as a parent, but Parks and Recreation and the library I think are for me what hold the most value, because it's what our future generations have as tangible, right? That connects them to city government. My children were here last week and their eyes were as big as plates. But the library is somewhere that we go. They had library cards when they were very, very small. That's one thing that we get to do as a family that's really special. Parks and Recreation, I volunteer as a coach. We have Anacortes Little League coming up. We will have Parks Day, where actually Little League families go and make over city parks to allow them to be playable. Partnering with the Parks and Recreation Department, partnering with those in the city to say, how can we help elevate? How can we bring in this future generation so that they see the opportunity and they see the importance of civic duty?
Thank you. All right, Mr. Fantini, it's your opportunity to ask a question, and this time around we will start our answers with Ms. Hunt.
Hello. Thank you all for being here. This is, wow. I see what you mean now by like, I don't want to put anybody last. So council service definitely requires a significant time commitment beyond just attending meetings. My wife Tori likes to tell me when I go out the door for another meeting, she's like, oh, another meeting? I'm like, yes, but we get a stipend. And she's like, yes, you mean your 3 cents an hour? And so, you know, there's a lot of time that's put into this. And I'm just wondering if you've thought about and calculated the time required for reading agendas, meeting with constituents, and serving on subcommittees, and kind of your thoughts around that. And as a 1B question, will you run again when the appointment is over?
Thank you. Ms. Hunt.
Well, as a retired person, I do in fact have time to do all that stuff and more, and I can be flexible to meet committee meeting schedules for those of you who are still trying to make a living. So yes, I have time ready to engage, no question there. And to answer your Part B question, if I were serving on council as an appointed council member in May of '27, it would be incumbent upon me to give the voters an opportunity to either ratify or disagree with your appointment.
Thank you. Ms. Ork.
Thank you. I kind of worked this out in my head over the last few months, having run for council, because I had to get into a cadence of agendas come out Wednesday, read them Wednesday night, because if you have questions, you really only have Thursday and Friday to ask them of staff before you have a meeting on Monday. So I kind of started getting into a rhythm of that. And I started really understanding that, yeah, this is like a 15, 20, 25 hour a week job minimum when you really start diving into those agenda packets and understanding those. I have an incredible husband who's very supportive, who has said, you know, if this is what you want to do, we're going to figure this out, because I have a 6-year-old who is incredibly active and does not understand, Mommy, why are you at city council tonight? But it's, you know, it's great. I have a wonderful partner that will help support me. And in terms of next May, I would be honored to run again. I think it would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Henry.
Yeah, I have thought actually a lot about this. In a little bit different position, as I'm a single full-time mom of 3 wild, wonderful beasts. And so even in applying for this position, spent a lot of time thinking about, you know, what would it take? Could I do it? And I can. And that was part of my commitment to applying, was could I fulfill the job? And I had the opportunity to speak with many of you to really understand what is the time commitment, you know, and so similarly kind of done the calculations of about 20 hours a week and really thought through how could I allocate that time, understanding of meetings, and so very committed to that. You know, Mr. Fantini, to your question, yes, if I had the honor to serve, I would hope that, yes, I would be up for running for re-election in '27, so thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Clements.
Yes, I think everyone up here is busy and works to juggle all of the things in their daily life, and taking on something new is not something that I've looked at lightly. I've actually sought counsel with my family. I also have a wonderful, supportive husband, and I also have family built in right across the street and a block away. When we talk about community and being able to serve, that also means bringing my kids here. It means having the autonomy at work to be able to say, actually, I have to prioritize this. When it comes down to it, serving in any capacity, whether it's city council, whether it's a job, whether it's being a parent, it's about prioritization and what's important. If there's a job to be done that I have been trusted to do, I'm going to do it. The time commitment, I don't find scary. I find it actually really exciting and challenging in a good way. And as for 2027, absolutely.
Thank you. And Mr. Gasser.
Good question, TJ. So when someone asked me to consider this, I knew I had to do some discovery, and I didn't know if I wanted to run or not, or put in my application. And so I started the process, and it became fascinating to me what I didn't know. And so I read through a lot of documents. I met with a lot of people. I met with all of you. I met with the committee members, the directors and the chief, and had good conversations, and I got excited about this. And that's why I'm here now. So it is interesting. It's challenging. I'm in. And as long as my health is good, I would run again.
Thank you. Thank you all. We've now concluded questions from 6 council members. Council, if there's no objection, I'm going to cut off follow-up questions at this point. Hearing none, we're not going to do another round of follow-up questions. We are almost 3 hours in, and I imagine we have only another 4 to go. So I would like to put the following question in front of council. A, we could take a break. I don't need one. I'm like a camel. But we could take a break at this point. We could also then, when we come back, take our last 3 items on the agenda and then return to discussion about the candidates, because there are quite a number of staff in the back of the room that may wish to get these agenda items finished and then go home.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
I would love to finish the agenda items for staff and return them to their families. I would also like a moment to use the restroom.
I thought this might be attractive to most people. If there's no objection, that's what we'll do. Okay, thank you. We'll take a 10-minute recess. All right, we'll get started again in 1 minute. Are you presenting this? Okay. All right, it is 8:51. Thank you for keeping our 10-minute recess to about 10 minutes. We are going to put that agenda item on hold now and proceed to 6C, which is Resolution 3205, updating the unified fee schedule. Take it away, Ms. Peck.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, members of the audience. I'm here to share with you Resolution 3205, as the Mayor mentioned, updating our unified fee schedule. There are two components to this resolution. The first one being the update to the cemetery fees. And back on January 26th, the council received a great presentation from John and Darby. So this resolution would update our unified fee schedule to align with the fees that were discussed at that time. So I'll pause there and say, are there any questions or need any clarification on the cemetery fee component? Okay. The second component of this resolution is to update some of the planning fees. And these are to align some of the verbiage and rates to the December 15th, I believe it was, adopted Anacortes plan, development plan. So with that said, that one is a little more vague. You have not seen the information in this format prior to tonight. John and I do have a presentation that we can share with you that was also in the packet. Otherwise, that's what I have for you tonight.
Do you want to go ahead and show the presentation?
I can if they would like to see it. Otherwise, we can.
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial to see the overview PowerPoint, not just for council, but also for our home television audience.
All right, I'll let Mr. Coleman talk through the.
All right, Mayor, members of the public, I'm John Coleman, Director of Planning, Community, and Economic Development, and going to try to give an overview of the few things that we are asking to change in the unified fee schedule. So we're not asking to actually change any fees or update fees per se, like planning permit fees or anything like that. That we are going, just so you know, we're embarking on a project to review all of our fees and see if we're in line with the rest of the jurisdictions in the area, as well as are we recouping enough funds from the work that we do through our permit costs. That's a whole nother larger project. This is just meant to be a quick kind of cleanup part of our unified fee schedule. As was already mentioned, some of these things are just changing to address that we changed some permit types in our comprehensive plan update and development regulations update. So updating some of that, and I could walk you through those changes if you like. And then some other changes, in addition, are related to our hearings examiner fee. So we're getting a new hearings examiner, and so we have a draft fee schedule from them. And instead of having fees per hourly rate for the hearing examiner, with one caveat that I'll get to in a minute, we're actually looking at having them just have for every type of permit that they will review, give us a flat fee. So if they're reviewing a plat, it would be one amount for that type of application. And those are listed in the unified fee schedule. And so that would just be recouping the costs that the hearing examiner charges to the city for a project-based application. So the applicant is the one that is requested to do this project, so they are the ones that would be bearing the cost of paying the hearings examiner. When we're speaking about the hearing examiner, we also have the hearing examiner do appeals, review appeals for project actions, not for legislative actions, but for project actions. So again, related to an application project review or for code enforcement. So for those, the hearing examiner is not able to say it's going to be a flat fee for any type of appeal because it's always all over the board. So it would just be a straight $275 fee. And that is in line with the other hearings examiner's costs. It's not prohibitive. The only thing that's a little bit different is in the past, the city is not charged for hearing examiner fees on appeals. That is a policy decision that I did want to bring to your attention before we made the change in the unified fee schedule, because that is a change. So, for example, would you like to, if someone appeals a decision that the hearing examiner is, or that administrative determination, it would go to the hearings examiner for appeal. And so do you want the applicant to bear the cost of that because it is part of their project? Or is that something that the city will continue to front that cost? We haven't had a lot of those in the past, but we are starting to see more of them. And at $275 an hour, it does add up. The last appeal of a short plat, a neighbor appealed a short plat determination, which is an administrative determination, went to the hearing examiner, and it ended up costing the city $2,900 in hearings examiner costs to do that appeal. We expect that number would probably be a little higher. The more complex a project gets, the more money it's going to be. Also, for code enforcement actions that could go to the hearing examiner, those might be a lower cost because code enforcement actions are not necessarily as complex, but they can be. So that's one policy decision that's kind of baked into this. Right now, the way that the unified fee schedule is written, it doesn't. It says that the applicant will be billed that fee. So if you wanted to change that, there would need to be something in the motion stating that the city doesn't want to bear that cost, or the city does want to continue to bear that cost. I apologize, I got that backwards. The other part was the stormwater review fees. There's a policy change in here. It's not a change in fee number, but it's a policy change that affects the applicant. Right now, the city says that for every time somebody submits with a permit application their stormwater review materials, that the city will pay for the first 2 review fees. And so we send those out. The Public Works Department is in charge of the stormwater review. The Public Works Department sends it out for a third-party review for most applications besides very simple ones. And that cost has been climbing. What we see is people submitting applications, and since we bear the cost of the third-party review, I'm not saying that this is what people do, but it gives them the opportunity to let the third-party reviewer do all the reviews and give them the corrections, so maybe they put less work into it in the first time. And so it is common for us to go through 2, sometimes 3 reviews. And that slows the process down a lot, and it costs the city a lot. In fact, in 2025, this policy has cost the city about $64,000 in stormwater third-party review fees that we did not recuperate. So that's a change that we would like to put in the fee schedule as well. So that is all of our changes. I can walk you through here. These are the changes. You can see these are underlined in blue, is we're just adding the hearing examiner fee to several items. I'll go through those quickly. And then here on this page, you see the stormwater review, 100% of the third-party review consultant fee, and striking out the two reviews being for free. We're not entirely sure how that policy made it in there. Staff thinks that that wasn't there 2 years ago, but it made its way in more recently. And importantly, I don't know that budgeting was properly done for that, so we're finding ourselves in a hole budget-wise because of this policy. And then finally, they have the hearing examiner fees. You see the scale for the specific amounts for each of the different types of permits, and then $275 for appeals per hour. And that is everything I have for you.
Council, do you have questions on the proposal?
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
Thank you. So when I look at this, it seems very, yeah, we should do it because obviously the city should not be in the business of subsidizing costs for people to build in Anacortes. But I have one concern, and I would love it to be spoken to so that I can feel good about saying yes to this. and that is that, you know, we hear a lot of stories from builders that are moving away because our permitting is slowed down or a multitude of reasons. Has there been any thought given to if this is this going to create even more of a desire for people not to want to build here? Has there been any thought or conversation around that?
There's always a balance, right? But you know, the directive has been for development to pay for 100% of the development costs. So this was a policy shift to get closer to recouping costs. I think a lot of it's hard to tell how much developers are choosing to develop less because of fees. Anecdotally, we've heard that developers like surety more than worrying about fees. But, you know, that's not a question that I can answer. I'm speaking anecdotally.
But you wouldn't necessarily think that changing this is all of a sudden going to screech our already slowed building to a halt?
No.
Okay.
No.
And I would concur with that. I've spoken to a lot of builders recently, and no one's complaining about fees. The stormwater review is a significant obstacle. We're working on that in a variety of ways. This will help because it will force some stormwater designers to do a better job on the first review, which will speed up the process, as Mr. Coleman mentioned, and that's worth more to applicants than the fee is.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Currier.
Yeah, really quickly, just for perspective, looking at other cities, I know that was part of what you've been doing with this project we talked about, but have you seen any other cities that give the first couple for free, or is this something that we were doing unique here in Anacortes?
Well, other cities have in-house stormwater review. We don't have that capacity in the Public Works Department, and Logan Lee, the Public Works Director, can speak to that more directly than I can.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Council, other questions? And if no questions, do you have discussion?
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Colleen McGrath?
I think if memory serves me right, we had an in-house person. That position, or the person was no longer with the city. I think we decided to just kind of cover it, hoping that we would eventually fill that position again. So it wasn't necessarily an intentional choice to cover the costs of these reviews, but it's where we're at now and needs to be addressed. I guess my only other question is, how are we doing with finding a hearing examiner who can review projects in a timely manner? Are we working on that currently? Have we found someone?
Mayor Miller. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Mayor Walters, second time tonight. I'm sorry.
Is it the suit?
It's not. It's not.
Ms. Swetnam.
Thank you. So yeah, we actually have had really positive conversations with a hearing examiner company who has agreed in concept to serve as the city's hearing examiner, and we're at the final stages of negotiating that contract, which will be coming to council relatively soon, along with updated procedures. And they have indicated that I was very impressed with the thoughtfulness of the discussion to make sure that they had the capacity to be able to turn decisions around quickly. So we're very encouraged by that building relationship. So.
And just to follow up my question, I'm assuming that this fee structure reflects what is needed to cover the costs.
You're going to see that this fee structure is eerily similar to what's in their proposed contract.
Thank you.
So, council, at the risk of derailing this, I do want to highlight that the appellate fees, the appeal hearing fees, are the most significant change in the fee schedule here, because it would start at, what is it, $200 an hour plus the hearing examiner fees, which are $200 flat fee, plus the hearing examiner fees, which are $275 an hour. Mr.
Young. I just think that it's unfortunate, but this is where we are. The reality of just budgets, what we have to do in order to recoup some of the costs associated with moving this forward. I mean, I think that we've had a great run, but looking at where we are at the balance sheet, trying to figure out how we move forward, bring people on, maybe some of those that were riffed. And so, we have to look at these tough changes. No one wants to spend any more money. And so in this case, I think that it's a fair effort to minimize our costs associated with development. Sure, we've got things that are happening now. We've got a great group of people working for the greater good of the city with our new council member. Other things that are happening is very positive. But right now, our budget requires us to make some tough choices. It doesn't mean that we can't revise them at some point in the future, but at this moment, I think this is the right thing to do. And short of any other conversation, I make a motion to approve Resolution 3205, updating the unified fee schedule.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the Resolution 3205 as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next item of business is a contract award that Mr. Lee, our Public Works Director, will present.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the public. Tonight I bring forward a contract for $364,218.88 with Summit X Contractors, and this is for the Terrace Drive Utility Improvement Project. This project is part of our annual AC, which is asbestos cement, small mains replacement project. So it's a water main replacement project there on Terrace Drive. As a reminder, Terrace Drive is located up by V Avenue, just up from Highway 20. As you can see on the picture to the right, the driving surface, curb and gutter are all in really poor shape and have deteriorated significantly. So in the process of tearing up the road to replace the water line, we also are planning on repaving the entire stretch of Terrace Drive, as well as doing a variety of stormwater improvements through there. And we've also identified a significant area on this kind of southern portion of Terrace Drive that has a compromised subgrade. So we'll be doing additional excavation in that area to reconstruct the road, at least half of it, and then the remainder of it will just be a 2-inch grind and overlay. So yes, as I said before, this project is part of our AC main replacement program, budgeted $1.7 million. It's paid for through the water rates and user fees. This is just a portion of, we will do additional projects in the future to use the remaining budget in the AC water main replacement. Due to the scope of work on Terrace Drive, we decided it was cost effective to put it out as its own project. I also included a list of what else, all the major items that we are replacing on Terrace Drive. So the main portion of the project is 800 feet of 6-inch ductile iron, new water main. So we did new catch basins, 300 feet of 12-inch ductile iron storm pipe, and that's because the cover in that area is really low, so the pipes are going to be really shallow, so we needed to do ductile iron, as well as the additional cubic yards of excavation, and new curb and gutter, and about 450 tons of asphalt. So that's all I got for you, and I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Suffice to say, this will be a significant improvement on this section of road.
Yes, Terrace Drive is, in 2024, we did an assessment of all the roads in the city, and they were given a PCI rating, and this was, I believe, one of, if not the lowest rated road in the city. So.
All right, council, do you have any questions or discussion?
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Lee, for the level of detail that you included in the agenda bill and, of course, the maps. And I also appreciate that the contract is for quite a lesser price than the estimate of $411,000. And lastly, I'm also really glad to see how many bids came in. So I think this is good news, and I appreciate knowing the PCI was so low on this section. And if no one else has anything to add, okay, I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign contract 26016 WTR 001 with Summit X Contractors in the amount of $364,218.88 to perform the 2026 Terrace Drive utility improvements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the contract is approved. Thanks. Mr. Lee, go home. Our next item is Ordinance 5022, and our city attorney, Ms. Darcy Swetnam, will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor Walters. This has nothing to do with sea otters, but I drew the short straw of talking about codification at the end of a long agenda, so you all get to be rewarded with pictures of sea otters. So tonight I am presenting Ordinance 5022, which would create a new chapter in the Anacortes Municipal Code at 1.01. So the overview of this ordinance is that it would clarify the organization of the Anacortes Municipal Code and how it's codified online. It creates standards for how the code should be organized. It articulates differences between ordinances and resolutions, and also newly creates an online codification of resolutions of long-term effect, which are policies. So some examples of policies that could be included: personnel policies, purchasing policy, financial policies, and the unified fee schedule. These otters are holding hands, which is super cute. Okay, here's the structure of the proposed new chapter: purpose, laws, ordinances, code, resolutions, and policies, codification, organization of resolutions of long-term effect, and then updating codes and policies. So next steps, You got to get a baby in here. So staff recommends adoption. Because this is a non-regulatory ordinance, council could approve the ordinance and adopt it tonight. I wanted to give you some examples to look at of what other cities do, just so you can kind of envision what this new codification of policies could look like. So this is a screenshot from the city of Olympia. You can see here on the left where they've got their menu of options. They have their municipal code, then they also have their comprehensive plan, engineering design, IT policies, Olympia policies, labor agreements, et cetera. So what you can see here is this is the interface that the public goes to when they look at the code. So by putting policies in on that page as well, it will incorporate all of the city's policies into one body that's going to be a lot more accessible for you all when you have references that you need to make to policies, but also for the public to be able to see what the current official sources of what the city's policies are. Here's another example of what it could look like. This is Aberdeen, Washington. They have their municipal code. This is their charter. I'm not suggesting we have a charter, we don't. But just to give you kind of an idea of what it could look like. Here's the city of Federal Way. They've got their municipal code. Then they have their comprehensive plan. We would have our policies. I think this is Kirkland. I can't remember what city this is, but this is another interface where up here you can see they have their municipal code, and then down below they have their comprehensive plan. So it would be navigating the city policies in the same way, but separately, but from the same landing page that people are able to navigate the municipal code. So those are all of my comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions or talk about otters if you would like to. So.
And Council, you just approved amendment to the unified fee schedule. The fee schedule would eventually be one of the things that would go into this organization of resolutions. And as we make further incremental improvements to the fee schedule, it'll just be a lot easier to make each one of those incremental improvements, and the codification will be handled by the code reviser. Do you have any questions or discussion?
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Fantini.
First, thank you for that utterly amazing presentation.
Nice. I appreciate that.
My brain, I have to kind of restate it to understand it. So as I get it, we make a change, it goes up on the website, they can see what's been amended, people can see what's been changed. If there's no, is that essentially, am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, so it'll work like the municipal code does now. So what happens when you all adopt an ordinance that updates a section of the code, we send that off to code publishing, and then code publishing incorporates those changes into the most recent version of the code. So you don't see like a strike through underline changes, but you can see when a particular section was updated and by what ordinance, which you can then go back and look at and kind of see specifically what was changed. So there will be a live version of the municipal policies that reflects the most up-to-date version at any given time.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Council, any other questions or discussion?
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
If there is no more discussion, I move we adopt ordinance 5022 regarding codification of the city's ordinances and organization of city council resolutions of long-term effect.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance 5022 as presented. Hearing no further discussion, I will call for a roll call vote on the ordinance. Mr. Franciac.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Yes.
Ms. Moulton.
Yes.
Mr. McDougall.
Yes.
Mr. Fantini.
Aye.
Mr. Courier.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mayor, the ayes are 6, the nays are 0.
The ayes have it. The ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. And now we will return to the main event. Item 6B, the Ward 1 City Council applicant interviews and appointment process. We have completed the 5-minute statements from each candidate. We have completed the follow-up questions and then answers from council members to the candidates. You have adopted a rule whereby you will take nominations from the council for a slate. You did not set a limit on the number of people that can be on the slate, and then council will vote by name for one of the candidates that is on that slate. I would invite at this time discussion.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
Just clarification, did we do away with the written
No,
ballot?
no.
That's still a thing,
That was
right?
part of it, yes.
Okay, perfect.
I
Thank
should have
you.
mentioned that. And Mr. Franciac, you jump right in if I misstate some part of the motion that I have forgotten about. All right, so council, who would like to begin discussion on either the candidates or the process?
Trying to understand where
Mr.
we're at
Currier.
with this. Yeah. So we're each going to write three, we haven't decided how many names
You
down?
have not, no, let me review.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so when you, I expect that you will have discussion about which candidate you think should move forward. You will then nominate candidates for a slate, and you'll just do that by asking to be recognized and verbally nominating a candidate. We will then eventually move to a vote on those candidates, whereby then you will write on a piece of paper, and I hope someone has arranged for pieces of paper. Okay, that doesn't have to be right now, just eventually someone will be ready with a piece of paper. You will write your name and your preferred candidate on a piece of paper. Only one. We'll pass that to the clerk, who will read the votes. The name of the council member and the name of the council member's preferred candidate. We'll tally the votes, and hopefully we'll be done. So council, I invite discussion on the applicants. Mr. Young?
Yes, Mayor Walters. Quite honestly, I wish we could expand council. I mean, honestly, I wish we could, because it would be a couple of you that I would love to have up on here on the dais, but unfortunately that's not going to be possible. But I don't want you to leave without knowing how impressive you truly are, and that if I had my druthers and we could expand council, you would be on it. So, with that said.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
I don't really have a lot to discuss as far as candidates go. I think all of the answers were so great. Like, I would be proud to serve with any of you on city council. I think, but if there is anyone that wonders why I vote the way I do, I'd be more than happy to talk to you afterwards, explain it to you, call me, write me, whatever, and I'd be more than happy to share with you my thoughts if you're interested.
Thank you. Council, any other discussion at this point? Council, are you ready to proceed to nominations? If there is no objection, we will proceed to nominations.
Mayor Walters?
Are you objecting?
I'm not objecting.
Are you sure? Just object, and then we can.
I object.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Currier.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, I can nominate somebody now to the slate. Okay. Whew. All right, I want to get this going here.
Okay, so
Can I
now,
do
if
that?
there are no objections, we will proceed to nominations. Hearing none, council, I would invite any of you to make a nomination. Mr. Currier.
I'd like to make a nomination. I'd like to nominate Susanna Clements to the slate. I've seen her in action in downtown, doing some of the things she talked about, supporting local businesses. I've walked past her on the ball field, seen her out there extremely active in that capacity. I take weekly walks and see her in Old Town and very active. I just think she is a great representative of Ward 1 for so many different reasons. And I would like to nominate her to the slate.
Thank you. All right, council, any other nominations?
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Again, I would love to serve alongside any of you. Truly, I wish we could expand council, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to nominate Sarah Henry, and the reason for that is that uniquely our town is far more diverse than the original appearance. And what happens in our systems is that sometimes systems have to become aware that there are a multitude of people here in the town whose voices may not be heard or feel they're at the table. For example, Native American traditional land, everything about it. We've got Asian culture here. Obviously, we have African Americans here. We have this diverse, wonderful mix of people, which makes us beautiful. And we've got to make sure that those voices are at the table. My spouse is German-Irish, and so I get this balance beam. And so one of the things about Sarah that I've had the honor of learning was her work with the school district to make sure bullying and policies are fair and just. And for me, I think that's critically important because when I look at the dais up here, we have some extraordinary strengths, education, work in the community, banking, we've got real estate, we've got, entrepreneurial. All of those things matter. But the one thing that I think is also so critically important, in addition to the skill sets that you all bring, you check all those boxes already. So then with those checked, I wanted to look and see how do we make this dais ever inclusive, regardless of your status politically or your status economically. Just trying to make sure everybody's at the table because people want to feel heard. And for me, that's always been critically important, in addition to the due diligence. But I just think that that's important, and it's no shortcoming of each of you. It really isn't. I just think that at this point, I'd like to push forward Sarah Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Are there any other nominations? Ms. Moulton.
Thank you. So I am nominating Marcia Hunt. Ms. Hunt has the financial acumen, the deep experience at City Hall for 13 years as a clerk, as an employee, a staff member who's had relationships with council members who combined have served many decades. We've had past council members, current and residents of Ward 1, lots of support from the ward. I feel that her deep understanding of how the city works from the granular level to the broadest level is not to be equaled by even, I would feel like myself as a council member, that she has the experience and the wherewithal and the understanding to hit the ground running and help us with some of our biggest, clearest challenges right now, and would bring to the bench that complementary experience and that depth and that breadth of knowledge that would help us all and our community. Also, she's shown her commitment to the community by her volunteer work, by her involvement with her neighbors, and I think she understands things from many different perspectives, having lived in Anacortes for decades and also lived in different parts around the country. And that's my nomination.
Thank you, Ms. Moulton. Are there any other nominations?
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
Question, was it part of the motion that we can only nominate one person?
It was not. However, I'm going to impose that rule.
Can you do that?
Until you stop me. It's council's meeting. Council can override that, but I'm going to impose that rule until you do.
I would like to nominate Courtney Orrick to the slate. I feel that she has put a significant amount of work into being present here at council and learning and investing and asking questions. And I feel that she deserves to be on this slate.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? Ms. Killian-McGrath.
First off, I am pleased with all 5 candidates. I think you guys are all incredible. When this situation arose in November, December, January, I think we were all very concerned that we would garner interest from the public, that there were going to be folks that were willing to sacrifice their time and energy and put themselves out there. I know how uncomfortable it is to do so. You know, 3 of us here were, well, 2 of them were appointed. I was not appointed, and then after running a full campaign, got to know the rest of these folks up here and have built really wonderful working relationships, and I think any of you all would be a real asset. I think we are in a situation right now where we have some very challenging financial things to deal with. I appreciated some of the comments that were made about, you know, how we choose to spend money reflects our values. And I really think we need to have someone who is ready to go from day one with some expertise that does not currently exist up here. So I just want to say thank you to all, but I am satisfied with the slate as it stands.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? Hearing no further nominations, I'm going to cut off nominations if there's no objection. All right, nominations are cut off. We have 4 nominations: Susanna Clements, Sarah Henry, Marcia Hunt, and Courtney Orrick. At this time, I'll entertain any discussion that you would like to have, but if there is no discussion, we'll proceed to a vote.
Well,
Mr. Fantini.
Just for clarification, because I know we've all been through this a lot tonight, we're to write one name on our ballot. Is that correct?
Almost. You're going to write your own name on the ballot, and then you are going to
But
write...
I'm already here. No.
And then you are going to write the name of your preferred candidate.
Okay.
Mayor Walters.
Mr. Francione.
Actually, the format of the ballot will have the name of each candidate with a checkbox, so please place the check in the appropriate box. Thank you.
You don't even need to write the name. Yeah.
Wait, we're having ballots? Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
Are these ballots being printed right now and coming to, oh, wow.
So at this time, while we're waiting for the arrival of the ballots, I would entertain any discussion. Mr. McDougall.
Again, thank you all 5 of you, but also all, I think, 8 or 9 that actually applied. I think it's been an incredibly impressive group of folks, and however it turns out after tonight, I honestly hope all of you run for city council at some point, because there will be positions coming open in 21 months potentially, and again, in 3.5 years. So thank you very much.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I'd like to second that. In 2019, there were 9 of us that applied for a position, and 3 of the 9 ended up on council. So hopefully that's encouraging as well.
All right, thank you. And thank you to staff for producing this ballot so quickly. Council members, you are going to vote these ballots. You're going to put your name at the top. You're going to pass them to the end, and then the clerk will read the ballots. I assume afterwards we will burn them and the white smoke will indicate which candidate we have selected. There is one point of clarification that I think we may need before you cast your final ballot here. And that is because you have nominated 4 of the 5, if no candidate gets a majority, if one candidate wins with only 2 votes, is that sufficient? You can adopt this by rule.
Mayor Walters?
Or do you require a majority of council? Mr. Fantini.
Since we've already been here, I do think that we should require a majority of council to seat a council member, and not a majority of votes, but a majority of council.
And so clearly we need to have clarity on this before we take the vote. So as painful as it may be, I'm going to ask you to clarify this via motion before we vote.
I just have Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I have a question. So if if no one gets 4 votes, what is our next step?
I take it you're asking me.
Ranked choice voting. Or is it too late for that? Just say.
If no candidate gets 4 votes, then if you adopt a rule that a candidate must receive a majority, if no candidate gets 4 votes, then the vote has failed and you'll need to try again. You'll know what the vote count is, and that may inform your next round of voting.
Mayor Walters, I do think we need a majority of council. I think this is a pretty good example of how it gets divided, and I think that we need to work together to come to a consensus on a candidate, and I think we can do that. None of us may get our first choice, but maybe we get a choice we all agree on, which was kind of the point of a couple of these original plans, but I feel strongly about that.
Council, any further thoughts, feelings, emotions, or motions?
Mayor
Ms. Cleland
Walters.
McGrath?
Yeah, I think that we've seen with 6, it's not an odd number, so it makes it challenging. Doing some research on MRSC, one of the ways that a lot of strong mayors, where it's a mayor, strong mayor, and then council, so there's not a council-appointed mayor. If there is a tie, the mayor then would break the tie. So I would propose that for the sake of time.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
I read the city council procedures, that resolution number 3188 from December 15th. And in that council procedures, it says, the mayor does not have a vote on matters before the city council, except in the case of a tie vote as permitted by RCW 35A 12-100 with respect to matters other than the passage of any ordinance, grant, or revocation of franchise or license, or any resolution for the payment of money. So I would move that the mayor, based on our existing city council procedures, would have the tie-breaking vote, or would have a, oh, that's if it's a tie, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
I think Mr. Courier makes a great point, where I think this is a big decision for all of us. And of course, it's already 9:40, and I would like to get home too. But I was also elected to do a job. And so I feel like it would be incredibly impactful and useful for us as a council to have to get 4 votes to get someone. It might mean we have to vote a few times, but I think it would do us all good to work together through the voting process to get to at least 4 votes to move someone forward.
And if I might make a suggestion in the interest of time, you might adopt a rule that you need to get to 4 votes for this vote only. If you succeed, great. If not, you may adopt a new rule for the next vote.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini?
I would propose that we adopt the rule of 4 for this vote. Motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that this vote, which we're doing on the piece of paper here, for one of the 4 candidates, in order to confirm that candidate as the council's pick to fill the vacancy, must receive 4 votes, 4 council votes. That is the motion. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and that's the rule that when you vote here in a moment, a candidate must receive 4 votes in order to be confirmed as the council, to fill the council vacancy. All right, is there any further discussion, or are you ready to proceed to the vote? Sounds like you're ready to proceed to the vote. Hearing no objection, please vote. Vote your ballot and pass it to the far right here for the clerk to read. Okay, Mr. Hoagland, Ms. Francois, who would like to do the honors?
Councilmember Courier votes for Susanna Clements. Councilmember Fantini votes for Courtney Orrick. Councilmember McDougall votes for Marcia Hunt. Councilmember Moulton votes for Marcia Hunt. Councilmember Cleland McGrath votes for Marcia Hunt. Councilmember Young votes for Sarah Henry.
All right, I counted along while you were, yeah. So we have received 3 votes for Marcia Hunt, 1 vote for each of the other candidates on the slate. No candidate having received a majority, the motion or the vote fails, and no candidate is yet selected.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini?
I motion that we vote another round with the rule of 4.
Is that identical to what we just did? Okay, all right. Okay. All right.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to repeat the vote that we just did. Are you going to print out more copies? Do we
want to do that, I can.
Mayor Walters?
Mayor Walters?
There can be an amendment to make it verbal. Mr. Courier.
I just think this provides us an opportunity to discuss further, because I do feel like it's important that we get to a consensus on this, because we've all expressed how we have an excellent slate of candidates, and we do. So I think we need to come to some sort of agreement through discussion, and if I vote a second time, or someone else votes a second time, we could vote differently based on trying to be looking at this from a broader perspective. And so that's my thought process, and not just repeating the same thing over and over again.
Ms. Killian-McGrath, did you also want to?
I agree with Councilmember Courier, but I would say just for the sake of time, we could switch to a voice vote unless someone has an objection to it.
Do I interpret that as a roll call vote?
Yes.
Okay, so I hear a suggestion that we amend the underlying motion to make that a roll call vote. If there's no objection to that amendment, we will amend the underlying motion. So now the motion is to take another vote, and we will make this now a roll call vote. If we are ready for the question, Mr. Franciac, would you please call the roll on the question of which of the nominees each of you would like to confirm?
Mayor Walters, point of information.
Mr. Fantini.
Just wanted to confirm that my motion was for a rule of 4.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Mr. Franciac, please call the roll.
Ms. Moulton.
Marcia Hunt.
Mr. McDougall.
Marcia Hunt.
Mr. Fantini.
Susanna Clements.
Mr. Courier.
Susanna Clements.
Mr. Young.
Honestly, I'm so torn. Yes, I'm doing the math. I would vote for Courtney Ora.
Ms. Cleland-McGrath.
Marcia Hunt.
Okay, thank you all. No candidate having received a majority of council, the vote fails and no candidate has been confirmed.
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Courier.
Given that some of these votes are shifting with at least 3 members on the dais, I would say we do this one more time. Same rules apply.
There is a motion, and I'll await a second, to take a vote on the slate. You'll vote for one. Rule of 4 applies. A majority is required to elect the council member. Awaiting a second on that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to proceed with another vote on the slate. Council members will vote for one. 4 council members must vote for one in order to confirm the candidate. Would you like to discuss that motion?
Mayor Walters?
Mr. Fantini.
I think this is probably more a question for council than you, but as we discuss the rule of 4, should it end in a tie? Do we as a council consider the mayor's vote a 4th vote? I would be comfortable with that.
I think, well, I don't just think, I am comfortable with that.
Council, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. So the clerk will call the roll again. This is on the question of voting for one of the candidates from the slate.
Mayor Walters.
What's that?
We need to take a vote on the motion before the council to take another vote by roll call with the rule of 4.
Oh, yes. Okay. Good, good. Thank you. All right. So we are, so the question before us now is, do you want to take a vote using the rule of 4 from the slate? And like the last vote, it will be verbal and not written.
Mayor Walters?
Ms. Moulton.
Is that including the amendment that the mayor's, if there's a tie, the mayor's a tiebreaker?
Well, I didn't hear that as a motion to amend. Is that a motion to amend?
Yes, I move to amend.
Okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to amend the underlying motion to allow the mayor to break the tie. Is there discussion on that amendment? Is there any objection to that amendment?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So if there's no discussion, but there is an objection, we'll take a vote on the amendment. The amendment is to allow the mayor to break the tie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. The ayes have it, and now the motion is amended. So now the motion is to take a vote with the mayor allowed to break a tie. You'll vote from the slate, one candidate each, via roll call. So all those in favor of taking that vote now signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The ayes have it. We now proceed to the roll call vote. Mr. Franciac, would you please call the roll?
Mr. McDougall.
Marcia Hunt.
Mr. Fantini.
Susanna Clements.
Mr. Courier.
Susanna Clements.
Mr. Young.
Susanna Clements.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Marcia Hunt.
Ms. Moulton.
Marcia Hunt.
All right. We have 3 candidates, or 3 council members voting in favor of Marcia Hunt, 3 council members voting in favor of Susanna Clements. And you have empowered the mayor to break the tie.
Point of information.
Mr. Fantini.
Just a reminder to the mayor that it's a rule of 4. So should he not want to break a tie, he could vote for a separate candidate that is not currently in the tie.
Okay. Ordinarily, I think you have a vacancy and the person who has vacated the seat is no longer up here, but in this case, the person is up here. And I cast my vote in favor of Marcia Hunt. That resolves this. Congratulations, Ms. Hunt. I thank all the candidates for their participation. I expect and really hope that all the candidates will be back here in future city council meetings, future board and committee meetings, and hopefully as well in future elections. Thank you. That resolves all the business tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.